Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, February 16th, 2026. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We are also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is going to be a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck on that giveaway as well. Prior to beginning today's daily collective read, I will be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. If you would like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. But before we begin today, first and foremost, most important question: how are you doing today? Scale of 1 to 10. There are no wrong answers. We have got eclipse season coming up. It's emotional. It's a new moon in Pisces. It's going to feel a lot like a full moon. I just wrote an article recently on it that you can find over on my stack. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing right now. One of the things we're identifying, and I always like to bring this up, effectively, eclipses don't bring new things in, right? Eclipses effectively amplify what's already there. And often the space by which we work through that, something that feels very small, can sometimes feel like it's a space by which it becomes overwhelming. Now, the positive that we often recognize with eclipse energy is the ability of being able to take very granular approaches to things that are often hard to effectively see. Right? When we're working into the context of our own emotions, that ability of being able to get granular is a gift that we often navigate with eclipse cycles. What we want to avoid with eclipse cycles is feeling emotional overwhelm. And it's very difficult to do so because we often recognize, and we see this when we're going through eclipse season, particularly with a lot of Pisces energy, right? The space by which we're navigating our emotions that sometimes feel like they're effectively overwhelming to us. Now, this is having a different impact depending on whether you align to masculine, feminine, or non-binary energy. But we also see that this is having a very, very important insight in relationality to the relationship cycles. And we're going to start first by talking about the energy that is coming into relationship, or the energy that's effectively working in solitude at this time. Specifically, we're speaking towards those energies that are working into the context of the lessons that we find in the World card of the tarot. And these were the energetic areas that we were seeing that were evolving between the time of that Capricorn new moon that we effectively had prior to this last full moon cycle up until the present. Now, what are we identifying with a lot of these energetic scenarios that we're seeing right now? Working into the lessons of the World card, which is understanding and identifying what it means to find the center within the self, building into that point of stabilization, and also the observation that when we're working towards manifestation goals, the space by which we find joy, it's not the identification of joy that we find on the other side of a manifestation, but rather the joy that we bring into the manifestation that we're moving towards. So we see that this could be a lot of energy that is effectively working in the context of healthy partnership, specifically and particularly by building into that sense of stabilization within, basically focusing on the bliss state or finding one's own center of bliss that is effectively going to be amplified when they find healthy partnership. Now, one of the things that we also potentially see maybe happening right now is working into the context of the emotionality that's coming up. This could be bringing up a lot of past wounds, could be bringing up a lot of past trauma. There could be circumstances or situations that feel very energetically triggering. But what we identify and recognize in relationality to navigating those triggers is being able to come into the space of observation that allows one to be able to feel fortified and grounded in relationality to how one is effectively approaching a lot of that work. So it's a context of the emotionality that we potentially see that is arising with that new moon in Pisces energy, but allowing the overwhelm to be one that creates that space or that sense of healthy energetic stabilization. We also see potentially that there are relationships that are coming together at this time. And what are we seeing with a lot of those relationships that are potentially coming together at this time? A lot of conversation, specifically and particularly in relationality to what they have their heart set upon. For a lot of these relationships, there could be a bit of caution that we see is coming towards them as they're moving into relationship. These are potentially situations and circumstances by which the energy has been working into the space of finding their energetic bliss and being very energetically protective about that, potentially articulating upon the trepidation by which they are effectively observing relationships. A lot of the work that we see that may be coming together as it relates to building into healthy partnership at this time is the space by which they're talking about the caution that they feel. But again, we also see the fact that Uranus has effectively stationed direct in Taurus. So it's an observation of the fact that when we're working on doing something better, right, the ability to find a comfort zone is effectively amplified in finding the discomfortability to find the confidence in order to do something that they have not done before. Now, this brings us to the relationships that are moving deeper into divine union. And these were effectively the relationships that were coming together between the time of that Capricorn new moon cycle that we experienced on January 18th up until the time that Uranus initially moved into retrograde, which was around September 6th of last year. The moon relationships, or the relationships that were coming together during that time, were focusing on the lessons that we see in the moon card. The observation of the reflective point within the self that allows the observation and understanding what one needs to embody in order to move towards healthy partnership. Now, one of the things that we see that may be happening for a lot of these relationships right now is a time of deep reflection. We also see that this could potentially be a modality by which there's a lot of potential expansion that's occurring. And why are we seeing so much of that expansion right now? Specifically and particularly if these were relationships by way of carrying wounds in relationality to energy whose own purpose did not match theirs in past relationship. There's a lot of wounds that are healing right now in those new relationships with the observation as it relates to feeling that they are in partnership with someone that has a mutual sense of identified purpose, that mutuality of purpose and intention that is allowing for the fortification point. We see that for a lot of these relationships, that sense of being able to feel the ability to move towards a purpose unimpeded or unhindered, having the easement of not being in a relationship with energy that takes that sense of purpose personally. We see that this could be a deep expansion time as it relates to articulating upon that intimacy, while at the same time working through or observing wounds in the past by way that they did not feel as energetically supported as they do currently. Now, this brings us to those relationships that are deep within divine union right now. And these were the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde, which we saw in early September, up until the solstice period. These were effectively relationships that were coming together while we were going through temperance lessons. The observation that everything is possible so long as the work is mutual. And I want to describe that this is potentially where we see a lot of the heaviest rigor right now as it relates to the work that we observe is occurring in partnership, specifically because we see that in a lot of those relationships, being able to identify what may have felt like a trauma trigger that was created at a time by which it was necessary to be able to have it, something that effectively allowed the self to feel safe and supported in a trauma environment may now be creating the space by which it feels energetically problematic or difficult in a healthy relationship. But what we effectively see that's happening with a lot of those relationships right now is being able to navigate those experiences or those energetic blocks with a sense of care, right? Understanding and holding compassion in relationality to why those effectively came into being in the first place. We see that this could be a lot of expansion that's happening during these times with these relationships, but it's working into the sense of expansion with a sense of patience and determination and fortitude, potentially observing and recognizing what needs to heal, but not just the space by which they're working in terms of what needs to heal, but further being able to identify and recognize why, like what was so important about being able to have those effective walls in the first place. It's a continuation of understanding that one of the difficulties that we often experience as it relates to the healing journey is the modality or the experience by which we feel like we have to erect something to protect ourselves, that then feels like it takes a long period of time to be able to heal ourselves from as we move into a deeper sense of vulnerability and safety. Now, that is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. But if you'd like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my Spot and over on my Stack. I would also encourage you to head over to my Stack to learn more about a very special retreat that we'll be hosting this August. I'd like to invite you to join me August 8th through 13th as we will be traveling to Italy to study the cards in the location by which the tarot was first documented to be discovered, sharpening our tarot skills while further enhancing our understanding of the culture by which the tarot was able to grow and thrive. Everyone that participates in that retreat will not only be receiving one-on-one classwork with me, but will also have the opportunity of receiving a complimentary mentorship class where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize your personal practice and that trip to help move you towards your tarot goals going forward. You can find all of that over on my Stack, and I would also encourage you to head over to my Stack if you'd like to participate in our next tarot class, which is happening this week on Wednesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the court cards in the sword suite. Everyone that participates in that class will be getting information in relationality to the history of those cards, the symbolism. We're going to be talking about spread application, how you can read those cards in any direction that they may appear in your own reads, and I'll be presenting a unique spread that helps you channel the messages of the court cards, the sword suite, into your own personal readings. You can find, if you're interested in becoming a part of that class program, all you need to do is head on over to my Stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid monthly subscription to my Stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. As a monthly subscriber, you will also have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. And if you become a founding member to my Stack, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system, as well as a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. And I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know as well If you are also interested in terms of, you can also, in terms of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. And I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen and we will get to 50K in no time. And the other reading giveaway we're doing today is a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that as well. If you are joining us across the other apps, you can also get on the list today via my tree that has Binks in it in my bio, Grand Rising, Opalescent Centaura. Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful start to the day, and I'm going to take a few minutes to catch up on some of the comments that came through as I was giving those updates. How are you doing today, Spiritual AF? And welcome, Letitia. Blondie, thank you for those likes, deeply appreciated. Bridget, good to see you today. How are you doing, dear? Welcome. And thank you as well. Hi there, Sandra, and thank you for those hashtags, Bridget. Grand Rising Aquarius, good to see you today, Minnie. Minnie, the dreams are coming up lately have all to do with past wounds. There's going to be a lot of shadow work coming through right now, particularly with this cycle. Right, we're going to see that a lot, especially given the fact that we've got Pluto in Aquarius at the same time that we've got Saturn, at the same time that we've got both Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of argumentation in the dream space right now, or a lot of shadow work potentially coming up. Absolutely. It was wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it went well, dear, and thank you for the compliment, Crystal. Grand Rising, Yaz. Hilda, thank you for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. New relationship read is spot on. Thank you as well, Julia. And welcome. It's crazy how these relationship expansions are popping up out of the nowhere. Grand Rising, Alexandra. How are you doing today, creative? I wasn't even looking for a relationship, but then it just lands in your lap. I'm doing well today. How are you doing, dear? Totally understanding. So much, just so well deserved. And thank you, definitely. Oh, that's beautiful. I will contact you about that, Chrissy. Let me get to the bottom of it to see what's going on there. Grand Rising, Dr. Genuine, but thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Hi there, Lola. How are you doing today? It's true what's being said in the world right now. Sending you so much support on that journey. And thank you as well. And I want to describe, I think the most important thing that we're able to do, like, we're going to continue to talk about this. There's a lot of, I want to, and we're, like, this is something that we can anticipate, and we're going to continue to read for it. Making sure that you're navigating frustration with a sense of effectively identifying and recognizing what feels stabilizing, not letting yourself, like, not allowing energetic fear to override, but allowing frustration to fortify it as it relates to healthy direction. I hope that helps, Lola, and sending you support on that journey. Rustic Wings, thank you for becoming a member of my fan club. I appreciate you. And how are you doing today? As well, Startly. Oh, I'm so glad that these messages help. Thank you for being here and receiving them. Grand Rising Rustic, and thank you for reposting. Always appreciate when you guys repost. And Kaylee, thank you for the follow as well. Hilda, thank you for the follow. As I mentioned, friends, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers, links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that. And the other giveaway we're doing right now is a giveaway when we get to 50K likes. So make sure you're tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. We are already at 3.3K likes. That said, if you are on the hold list and would like to be taken off the list, all you need to do is let me know the date that you were added to the hold list, and I'll be happy to add you back. And if you want to get on the list right now, you'll be the second person read for, which is a wonderful time to get on the list. The list is nice and short right now. Before we get started on today's daily collective read, though, why don't we warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check? I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the fox. Thank you for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. And as I mentioned, if you guys could do me a favor and share this live, I would appreciate it. Make sure anyone who would like to catch this reading live is here to receive it. That said, no better time than the present. And thank you, Victoria, for becoming number 116 in the fan club. Grand Rising Heather, good to see you as well. And thank you for recharging your heart me's. Just a reminder, my friends, if you are a super fan who would like to have an animal spirit guide card on top of your 1 card today, make sure that you're recharging your heart me's as well. And if you are a paid member over on the place where we keep the videos, you are also entitled to a free card each day. That said, no better time than the present. We are going to get started shortly, and if you'd like to get on the list right now, the list is open. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, February 16th, 2026. We are going to be doing a masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update today. We are going to be starting our read with diving into masculine energy. We'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck to read into the headspace of masculine. Can I please have, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Can I get 3 cards, please? 3 cards we are starting our day off with today are, we have here, come on, 1 more, please. We are starting with our 9 of Cups in its upright, the Judgment card in its upright, as well as the 8 of Cups in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about what we're effectively seeing right now, specifically as it relates to masculine headspace. There's a lot of cup energy here, and I'm not surprised to see a lot of cup energy right now, given the fact that we're moving into this Pisces new moon. This Pisces new moon is going to feel a lot like a full moon. A lot of emotionality coming up, a lot of potential feelings coming up. And one of the things that we also potentially observe or recognize that's happening right now is working into the space of being able to effectively articulate upon our feelings. One of the things that we keep on seeing that's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy is working through modalities or experiences by which they themselves were not carrying their emotions as well as they energetically could have, is all I keep on seeing. And one of the beautiful things that we effectively observe in relationality to working through that point of identifying or recalibrating, as it were, is, and I want to describe this, and we see this often with Jupiter in Cancer, right? The observation or the recognition in terms of working through something, but not just working through something, but the ability to articulate upon how we're feeling, right? This is what we talk about. These cards, when we look at them in combination, are often a conversation on the power of introspection, right? This is often something that we can see when we're working through Aquarius season, right? Because when we avoid something, we don't get energetically stronger upon it, right? It's often the space by which we ourselves feel energetically vulnerable. So what we're effectively identifying or working through is potentially masculine, that is observing and identifying the state of the emotions that exist within that others can't see unless we do the work to effectively communicate upon them properly, right? It requires, and it's often the space by which we identify or articulate our feelings that allow the feelings to become tangible. And so I think that there's something really interesting in that, in relationality to the tangibility of emotions, because what we're effectively seeing that's happening is the space by which one is identifying or recognizing that it creates, like, it doesn't require the sense of another person effectively feeling like they have to do the detective work to try to figure out our emotions. When we're being energetically responsible for them, we do our best to effectively communicate them as well as we can. And so this is really beautiful because we see that that's a lot of the energy of the healed masculine that is working into the context of the responsibility of communicating emotions so that they can be healed, and potentially working through experiences in the past by which, right, by which it felt like another person had to effectively, like, get to the bottom of something instead of articulating something clearly. Now this brings us to feminine energy, and for feminine energy right now, we are going to be utilizing the tarot of the divine for the headspace of feminine right now. 3 cards, please. We have here the Hierophant in its upright, in combination with the Temperance card in its reversal, in combination with the 8 of Wands in its reversal. Now this is really intriguing because what we effectively see, we see a lot of major arcana right now in the headspace of feminine. And what we're effectively identifying, or what we're seeing that's effectively occurring there, is for a lot of the feminine energy working through the ability to effectively articulate or communicate upon the emotions. And what we like about this is, particularly and especially with the Hierophant, that identification point or that experience by which we ourselves are, like, identify, or like, and this has a lot to do with the working through what we effectively have patience for versus what we don't have patience for. And this is something that's going to come up a lot, particularly and especially as we're navigating into that Aries energy that we see that recently Saturn and Neptune both moved into. Because you have to understand that what we effectively recognize that's often happening with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, it's often a question of working through what we ourselves energetically tolerate. And I want to describe that the ability to effectively navigate through tolerance is often the space, and I keep on getting that this is something that's energetically important to feminine, right? That our ability to effectively identify or tolerate is often the space by which we effectively communicate, right? And it's not enough, like, often in the space by which things are effectively feeling that pressure on the self, or those modalities by which we ourselves feel frustrated, right? The ability to effectively identify and recognize and articulate to others, right, the difference between something that is energetically comfortable versus something that we're energetically tolerating helps us to effectively refine upon our relationships more, because I keep on getting, it has to do with the finalitude of working through something, but not just the state by which we feel like that sense of finalitude, but the state by which we ourselves are effectively able to communicate our own energetic frustration towards things. So I think that this is very intriguing, because what we really see that's happening for a lot of the feminine energy, and I like to see this when we're moving into that Pisces new moon energy, is like and I want to describe the combination of what we're seeing here between masculine and feminine. Again, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. We see that masculine, right, especially, and I want to show you this because do you see I want you to see the similarity in these cards right now if you're a tarot nerd, right? We've got masculine working through this Eight of Cups energy, right? Which is the understanding of working through the context that the feelings we feel don't exist to others unless we're doing the work to communicate them, right? And what do we see that the feminine is articulating, right? Feminine is in the space of recognizing and saying the difference between the difference between feeling something and tolerating something is letting others know, right? Like letting others know what feels like the weight of working through that tolerance, right? The observation of effectively feeling that sense of having, like the broad approach that we take to something that then allows us to be able to identify and recognize new solutions to potentially be found there. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, this could be feeling like a lot of emotionality coming through, while for the feminine, this could be working into the space of identifying and recognizing how to effectively communicate more. Now let's get into the non-binary space. For non-binary right now, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. For the headspace of non-binary, we've got coming out the Four of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with the Sun card in its upright, in combination with the Devil card in its reversal. So what we're effectively identifying and seeing right now for a lot of the non-binary energy is, I feel like this is a lot of the energy that we're seeing that is effectively taking new approaches to things. And the observation of working into new approaches, I just keep on seeing it's working into the context of new approaches, but it's also being able to identify and recognize and working towards, I keep on seeing the space by which joy is something that we ourselves amplify and articulate in relationality to being able to identify how we effectively feel about things, or being able to effectively have one's feelings heard. And so in a way, what we're effectively seeing, it's a combination of both the work that we see that both masculine and feminine are doing at this time, right? Because it's working into the space of the emotions, right? The underground emotions that we often feel, that we're able to articulate as it relates to making sure that others are aware of them, while also broadening our own energetic tolerance towards things in the way that we ourselves are effectively able to amplify and articulate upon what feels comfortable versus what one is tolerating, that is leading into the context of identifying or recognizing what feels like energetic expansion, or the modality by which they themselves are working to heal. And I feel like what we're seeing for a lot of that energy right now is building into the context of feeling, and I want to describe this because this is often what we see that happens when we're working through eclipse cycles, is we can sometimes feel a little bit of that sense of energetic surrealness, because it's the identification point of working through expansion in the space by which we feel things that we haven't felt before. So we see that for a lot of that energy, the ability to try to communicate upon, right? The ability to try to communicate upon something that feels energetically ephemeral, right? I feel like that's a lot of the work that we see by which the conversations that are happening, specifically as it relates to partnership, have to do with the observation. And I wouldn't be surprised right now if some of that energy feels like they get very frustrated going through, right? Like going through the same energetic like cycles again, or going through something in a way by which they feel energetically frustrated, but also identifying and recognizing what it means to effectively refine upon it, right? So something that is getting finer is often something that we're doing again, but we do it in a way that allows the context of something effectively improving. So I feel like it's interesting because I almost feel like a lot of that energy is working through patience, but the patience that starts with the self as they're able to articulate and identify what they themselves are feeling energetically frustrated about. Now we're going to move back towards masculine energy right now, and we're going to be looking into the heart space of masculine. We're going to be utilizing for masculine heart space right now. We're going to be utilizing the we're going to be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine for the heart space of masculine. 3 cards, please. We've got here the Queen of Wands in its reversal, the Queen of Swords in its upright, and the 8 of Cups in its upright. So what do we effectively see that's happening right now in relationality to a lot of that masculine energy? And I want to describe that what we're effectively seeing, and I want to point this out, particularly with this Queen of Wands energy in its reversal. It's the observation of effectively identifying and recognizing what feels, I keep on getting what feels energetically supportive, but not just what feels supportive, what we ourselves are identifying in relationality to having the sense of working through, like observing what it feels in terms of building into the context of a relationship with strong counterpart is what I keep on seeing. And one of the things I keep on seeing in relationality to strong counterpart connection, especially with this Queen of Swords here in combination with the Queen of Wands and its reversal, the one thing I want to identify there is working into the state by which we ourselves are able to energetically appreciate. And one of the things I see that's happening right now for a lot of that masculine energy is building into, and I want to describe this because some of this that we're seeing in the heart space of masculine right now has a lot to do with the observation of like the state by which we build into strong counterpart. And I keep on getting like there's almost like I want to describe there's like almost like this feeling of disgust that I'm picking up on in masculine heart space as it relates to those that are in the unhealed space by which they're not looking for true counterpart connection is what I keep on seeing. Because and I want to describe this, right? Because the sense of energetic, our ability of building into strong counterpart connection is equally balanced with our own ability to make peace with our vulnerability. And what we keep on identifying that's happening right now for a lot of that masculine energy is working into the space of the consequence when we haven't made peace with our vulnerability, right? Because when we look, when we work into the space by which we don't see vulnerability as the gift, then we hate the vulnerability that we find within. And then what happens in the modality by which we have that hate of vulnerability within, right? Then when we see vulnerability in counterpart, right, it creates this love-hate feeling that we identify and derive there, right? Because it feels like a reflection point of the vulnerability that we effectively deny ourselves. So that's why we see that this is a lot of the masculine energy that is working into the context of self-love. It's the observation of the love that we bring to ourselves that start with our most vulnerable spaces, because this is the consequence. Like, this is what happens. Like, when we talk about a toxic culture, this is what happens. This is the natural consequence when you hate the vulnerability within, right? Because when you hate the vulnerability within, and then you say that you effectively desire vulnerability in counterpart, right? It doesn't feel like love. It feels like you're trying to heal the part of yourself that revolts against it, right? It creates a lot of unhappiness as it relates to that negative push or pull that we often feel. But when we come into the space of identifying and protecting the vulnerability within us, then it creates the state by which, when we see vulnerability in another, we identify it and recognize it as the gift that it is, right? It builds into the state by which we ourselves feel energetically supported. And so we keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, working through modalities or scenarios like that, we keep on seeing that that is a lot of the energy that is working through the vulnerability. But it's the vulnerability that they find within themselves that they're learning to heal, because I keep on seeing that the masculine is recognizing that when they heal the vulnerability within, right, it allows the ability to celebrate the vulnerability that we see without, right? It's a space by which we feel that sense of embracing, rather than being in that space by which we push it away. But it's not easy, is all we keep on seeing. There's a lot of potential emotionality there, but even in that emotionality, we recognize and identify that's a lot of the energy that's like working into the context of allowing themselves to feel their emotions in order to effectively heal them. Now, this brings us to the feminine energy. Moving into the heart space of feminine, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot right now for the heart space of feminine. 3 cards, please. We've got here the Ace of Cups in its upright, the 3 of Swords in its reversal, as well as the Strength card in its upright. So there's a lot of strong cards that we're effectively identifying right now in the heart space of feminine. And I think that what we're effectively seeing there is working into the context of what feels emotionally supportive. And I keep on getting that for a lot of that energy, working through those modalities or experiences, I keep on identifying that that's a lot of the energy that recognizes and identifies what it is that they themselves are working to heal from, is what I keep on getting. And I feel like a lot of that energy that we see that is occurring there is the feminine recognizing and identifying what it feels like to energetically heal from circumstances or situations by which they themselves doubted themselves, right? A lot of that 3 of Swords in its reversal identifies where that effective work begins. So this is a lot of the energy that's working into the context of trusting themselves. But even in the state by which they trust themselves, I keep on seeing that that's a lot of the energy that is working through, right? Working through that process of healing in relationality to situations or circumstances of the past, right? Right. And this is what happens. Like, what does a trauma environment effectively do? A trauma environment effectively makes you feel like you have to doubt yourself. So we see that this is a lot of the energy of the feminine being able to effectively recognize or identify a trauma environment that they're effectively working to heal from in the past. But even as they're effectively able to do that, they're building into the context of recognizing and identifying what feels energetically stabilizing, right? And so that's a lot of the energy. And I like this because I keep on seeing that it's working through the responsible communication as it relates to situations and circumstances by way of which they themselves often had those energetic frustrations, right? This is a lot of the energy that is getting better at effectively articulating upon things in real time, right? Working on the space. I keep on hearing like not allowing the context of harboring anything, because often what happens when one is energetically harboring? When you're harboring, it's the modality by which another person thinks something is fine, but it's not fine. And then in the modality by which you're effectively able to articulate it, it feels like those explosive moments. So we see that this is a lot of the energy that is getting better at effectively communicating in the state by which they themselves are able to identify or speak upon what it is that they are working to heal from. Now, this brings us to the non-binary energy. And for the non-binary energy right now, we're going to be reading into the heart space, and we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the heart space of non-binary at this time. 3 cards, please. We have here 2, 3, one more, please. Thank you. We have the Strength card in its upright. So we've got a similarity right now to the heart space of feminine. We've got the Death card in its upright. And we also have here the 7 of Swords in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about some of this energy that we're effectively seeing. And I feel like what's interesting right now for a lot of the energy working through this is identifying and recognizing their own ability to effectively, their own conversation as it relates to what feels energetically productive versus what feels, I want to describe, like I keep on hearing like productive versus irritating in terms of a lot of this energy. And let's talk about the nature, of working through something that we are effectively irate upon, right? And I keep on, and there's a continuation here that we're effectively seeing. And a lot of that continuation of what we're effectively seeing has a lot to do with the observation of what we ourselves are working to energetically change. And I keep on getting a lot of that there is building into the context of feeling the right to be upset about things, right? Because what we're effectively identifying in relationality to working through the feeling of being upset is often the space by which we're able, it's good, I keep on writing, it's good to be upset, because when you're upset and you're able to articulate what's effectively bothering the self, then it allows the ability to identify and to have something more productive to occur, right? It's the work into the context of productivity that allows for new solutions to be possible. So I feel like what we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of the energy that's working through that is trying to identify and recognize situations and circumstances by way of being as pragmatic as possible. And why do we see that there's something important there via the working through pragmatism? Because when we're energetically pragmatic, then it's the observation of effectively working, like it's the space by which we ourselves are able to effectively identify and articulate upon the things that are effectively bothering us, or the space by which we ourselves are working through something. And so I feel like it's interesting because I see a lot of that energy feeling protective, but it feels like they're being protective with good reason, right? Like there's a protectiveness there, but the protectiveness, like the protectiveness feels like a qualifier, right? It's the protectiveness that we often feel that gives us, it gives us or creates the observation in relationality to what is effectively frustrating us. And when we're feeling, I keep on getting, when we're feeling energetically frustrated, we're able to find new solutions to old problems. So I think that there's something really important there because, and I need to point this out, like the combination force that we see right now between the Strength card and the Death card in combination is often the conversation that we identify as it relates to feeling energetically fortified in something, but then taking a new approach to something that allows for a new solution to be formed. So I've got a lot of that energy there, and I feel like I feel like it's like an active conversation, but I keep on getting it's the frustration that effectively allows for new ground, right? It's like it's working into something in a space by which they themselves are looking at something with a fresh set of eyes or with like a new sense of perspective upon things. Now, this is bringing us to the unconscious, back into masculine unconscious space. And for unconscious of masculine right now, we are going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. Can I please get 3 cards, please? We've got here the Five of Swords in its reversal, the Ten of Cups in its reversal, and the Three of Wands in its upright. So what are we effectively identifying right now for a lot of the unconscious space of masculine? I feel like for a lot of that energy, what we're effectively observing is working through situations and circumstances by which they themselves are able to effectively identify and articulate upon their own, I keep on getting their own feeling of emotionality. I keep on getting there's a lot of emotion there, but there's emotion that's coming through in the way of identifying and recognizing. I keep on getting the emotions that we feel do not become real to others unless we come into the space of being able to communicate them, right? And I'm not surprised to see this type of energy when we're working through experiences like this new moon in Pisces, because it's a conversation upon working through the ephemeral nature of emotions. And what do we identify when we're working through the ephemeral nature of emotions? It's the observation of often the space by which we feel solitude in our emotions, right? Like the emotions that we feel are solitary places until we come into the modality by which we bring them forth. And then when we come into the space by which we articulate the emotions effectively feel like they solidify and become real, right? And this is what we talk about in relationality to working into the space of facing our emotions, right? It's the observation, and this is what's interesting about it, right? Because what we're effectively seeing, and this is what's so intriguing when we think of emotions like a substance. Like when you think of emotions like a substance, it's interesting because often the space by which we do not feel that emotions become real until we articulate them, right? This is effectively, right? This is a falsity, right? Because it's the observation that when we're energetically avoiding things, others experience our avoidance, right? It's a continuation. It's a continuation of working through the avoidance. And what happens, right? What often happens when we energetically avoid something? We become extremely sensitive about it, right? It's the observation of the energetic sensitivity, right, that others experience as we're avoiding, right? Because we're energetically not facing something. So it's very much it's often, and this is often what happens, right? We see this in others, right? And this is what we talk about as it relates to facing things, because often the modality by which we ourselves are ready to face something, others are already aware of it, right? because it's the modality by which we're working to avoid it, that almost it's like the avoidance, right? That is profound, that requires others to effectively navigate it. So we see that for a lot of the energy effectively doing that work, right? I feel like this is what I mean in terms of the energy of the masculine getting more responsible with their emotions, because it's the responsibility that they're effectively finding that allows the space by which they say, when we effectively are responsible with our emotions, we deal with them so that others don't have to deal with our avoidance of them, right? Now, moving back towards feminine, and for feminine right now, we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. 3 cards, unconscious, please. Thank you. 1, 2, and 1 more, please. 3. Thank you. We've got here the 9 of Wands in its reversal, in combination with the 10 of Cups in its reversal, in combination with the Knight of Wands in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing right now with feminine energy in relationality to working it through the context of healthy counterpart connection. Because everything that we're effectively identifying, working into the context of that connection, has a lot to do with healthy communication. And we often see, and one of the things that we see that's happening a lot for feminine energy is recognizing the difference between energy that effectively creates doubt for no other reason than to effectively try to limit or hinder the perception of feminine in being able to effectively celebrate the self, is what I keep on seeing. And what do we identify in relationality to that, right? The observation of being able to work through the space of identifying. And it's interesting too, because like I feel like there's a lot of Venus energy right now currently in the unconscious of feminine, and a lot of that Venus energy that we're seeing there has to do with the space of feminine identifying and recognizing what it feels like to be energetically supported by counterpart, right? And I keep on getting that for a lot of that energy, working through those modalities or working through those experiences, that observation of what feels energetically supportive is often working into the space by which they themselves have had those moments or experiences by which they've been in counterpart connection that have created the space of making themselves doubt themselves, is what I keep on seeing. And I just keep on getting that a lot of the work that we see that happens, particularly with feminine, is working into the context of trusting, right? I keep on hearing like trusting their own sense of stabilization is what I keep on getting, right? And this is the counterpart connection that identifies the healthy counterpart that often creates a space by which we learn to trust ourselves more. So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, working through modalities or experiences by which they themselves have often, like, I keep on getting like working through the context of experiences by which they themselves have felt wounded, right? But working into the space of healing, because it's the observation of recognizing the healthy counterpart energy that helps us to identify and trust ourselves more. So I keep on getting that there's a lot of that energy there that even as they're working through that, they're building into healthy connection with counterpart, either in solitude or with healthy counterpart connection. And that connection is helping them to heal from experiences by which they themselves felt like they had to be less in order to effectively maintain an energetic connection. Now this brings us to the non-binary space. And for non-binaries unconscious right now, we are going to be reading, we are going to be utilizing we're going to be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine for the unconscious of non-binary. 3 cards to clarify, please. 1, 2, 3. We have here the Tower card in its upright, in combination with the Lover's card in its upright, in combination with the Empress in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in relationality to a lot of that energy. Because what we're effectively observing, the one thing that we're energetically observing there has to do with, how do I describe this best? I feel like there's something very important that we see is evolving in relationality to the unconscious of non-binary that has to do with having to effectively recognize and identify what feels like a trauma environment. And I keep on seeing that there's like, and I want to describe this, the difference between a trauma environment and sanctuary is the space by which one does not feel that one constantly has to have one's own guard up, right? The space by which and this is what I keep on identifying here, right? The modality by which we often feel that we have to have our guard up is often the space by which we effectively don't feel like the space by which we ourselves can be energetically vulnerable, right? It's the conversation that we often navigate as it relates to building into a sense of being safe, seen, and supported, right? The state by which we ourselves feel upon that, or working through how we effectively identify that. And so everything I keep on seeing in relationality to a lot of the work that I see that they themselves are doing has to do with the conversation as it relates to experiences. And I keep on hearing experiences by which, and I keep on getting this, that the problem with trauma is that trauma turns us into things, right? And the hard part about it is who we become in a state of trauma is often what we needed in order to effectively survive a trauma environment, right? And so I see that a lot of that energy works through, right? They work through the modality of having to navigate, and I keep on seeing this, experiences by which another person finds that traumatized sense of themselves energetically appealing, right? And so this is why I see that a lot of that energy works through the context of setting healthy boundaries, because it's the conversation that identifies that when we move towards something that feels like it's energetically healthier, the sound that we should observe is celebration. But unfortunately, sometimes we don't get that luxury. Sometimes we don't get the luxury of that because the modality by which another person finds the traumatized version of self more energetically appealing, like this is what we talk about as it relates to setting healthy boundaries, because it's the state by which this energy often moves through things as they recognize that they're taking healthier approaches, and another person articulates that they miss the past version of self, and somebody effectively observing or articulating to another and saying that that effective person that they energetically miss was the result of the trauma that they were trying to effectively survive, right? And this is why I keep on seeing that a lot of that energy like works into the space of identifying and recognizing weird circumstances like that, right? The unappealing quality by which another person desires an unhealed part of the self that was created in order to survive instead of energetically thrive. But that modality or the experience, right? This is why we talk about the state of building into healthy transformation, because when we're building into something that's healthy, right, we celebrate and we don't feel nostalgic for unhealed versions of the self, right? It moves us into the space of what feels energetically productive. And so I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, right, like this is why they work through healthy boundaries, because it's not, I keep wondering, it's not about who misses the self. It's about who welcomes the healing, the healed version of self that is moving towards the understanding of being able to effectively energetically connect into a space by which we ourselves feel supported. And so I feel like there's a lot of that energy that kind of works through circumstances or scenarios like that. But the context by which they often feel like they have to articulate upon, right, the modality by which they feel like they have to articulate upon the circumstances by which they themselves have lost energetic connection with others, not having to do, right, not having to do with the state by which they feel supported, but the observation of who they feel left as they proceeded on their own healing journey. That bottom of the deck right now, moving back towards masculine energy, we have here Three of Swords. And so the Three of Swords with the bottom of the deck is often articulating upon situations and circumstances by which we ourselves work through. Like I keep on getting, this is a lot of the continuation that we're going to see. And I just need to stress this because as we're continuing into this Pisces new moon energy, it's working into the context of being able to recognize and identify how we ourselves communicate upon how we feel. And I keep on seeing that the way that we communicate frustration is always in the space by which we articulate it. It's the space by which we ourselves effectively identify or work through something. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of that energy, there's some kind of observation that is potentially occurring in relationality to circumstances or situations by which they recognize a tendency by which we all have these modalities by which we recognize our tendency to self-sabotage, right? And why do we see that there's that tendency to self-sabotage? Because it's, and I like to describe this as trauma, right? Trauma feels comfortable. Trauma feels comfortable because we recognize it, right? It feels like familiar territory. And the space by which we often energetically regress into familiar territory, it's understanding, and this is why it's so difficult to heal from trauma environments, because at least when you're in an energetic trauma environment, you know, right? You know what to energetically expect, right? It's the observation and the identification that allows you to feel, right? To feel that space. But this is why, right? And this is why we navigate discomfort, right? Because if you're hoping to heal from trauma, get ready to feel discomfort, because good is going to feel weird. It's like normal, like something that feels stable is going to feel odd, right? And this is why we work through, right? This is why we work through the understanding of the uncomfortability, because healing is an uncomfortable place. Like if you want to heal, get ready to feel uncomfortable, right? It's like it's gonna feel surreal, because you're going to be moving towards something that you've never experienced before. And then you're going to potentially experience fear. And you're going to want to move back to the trauma environment, because at least there you have the understanding of what you energetically recognize. So the ability to effectively familiarize ourselves with unconventional spaces is how we effectively expand, right? It's how we effectively energetically adapt. Because, right, we can't articulate that we aspire for change and then feel energetically uncomfortable with the nature of change, which is the unfamiliarity that comes as it relates to new experiences. So we see that that's a lot of that energy that's working through those modalities or experiences. But even as they're navigating that, I keep on getting, and it's like it's working into, it's the uncomfortability that feels unfamiliar, but unfamiliar in the best way possible, because it's the observation of what it is that we ourselves are understanding that we need to change in order to effectively move towards something that we aspire for. So I feel like this is a lot of the energy that is getting better at feeling uncomfortable, but not just feeling uncomfortable, being able to effectively recognize the nature of uncomfortability, the difference between uncomfortable that feels positive, right? The uncomfortability that feels positive in terms of navigating healthy, healthy unconventional spaces, versus the uncomfortability that we often feel when something is amiss or out of place. Now and the only way you're able to know that is, the only way you're able to identify that is if you allow yourself to feel things and working through it. Now for feminine energy, we're going to be utilizing bottom of the deck, Smith-Waite Centennial deck, two of wands in its reversal, right? And for a lot of the feminine energy, I just keep on seeing, for a lot of the feminine energy, it's working into the context of being able to be clear, is what I keep on getting. The gift of clarity. And here's the thing that with a lot of the feminine energy, recognizing this, clarity is a shield. Clarity is a shield. And when you think about the fact that clarity is a shield, it's the understanding that in the experience by which you're clear, prepare for rejection, right? In the space by which you're energetically clear, you prepare for rejection, because your clarity, right? Unhealthy energy hates clarity, right? unhealthy things hate clarity. So when you're bringing clarity to situations, another person, right, effectively working into the space by which they themselves experience clarity, and then they get weird, right? Often working through rejection. I feel like this is a lot of the energy of the feminine that builds into the context of feeling like working through, being like, I could not be clearer. They got weird. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at all that protection. Look at all that protection. It's a lot of the feminine going, I brought clarity. They got weird. Oh, look at all that protection, right? The modality by which we recognize that clarity is a shield, right? It's often not the space by which another person meets our clarity with clarity, but the fact that we recognize that we could not be clearer and another person gets weird, then that is the clarity that provides protection, because the clarity acts as shield. Like, what happened? I don't know. I just brought clarity, and I don't know what happened. Like, it's like, oh, look, the trauma hates clarity, right? It's just the observation that we effectively recognize and identify in those experiences. And I want to describe, this is why, like, and I need to point this out, like the healing journey, like prepare to have confusing circumstances come up, right? Because it's a responsibility of understanding, right? Like when you're in a healing space, you don't go chasing after someone to try to figure out why they're being energetically weird. It's it's just like, you just gonna need one of these. Right? The world's a confusing space. And if you spend all your time trying to figure out other people's weirdness, like prepare to be exhausted. Because some people don't even understand their own weirdness. You try to go down into you don't go into the weird well. If someone hasn't figured out their own weird well, you'll be down there for a long time. You'll be down there for a long time. I don't know how long. They don't know how long. They don't know how deep it goes. It's not your job to effectively figure it out. And so for non-binary energy, like bottom of the deck, we've got the Page of Cups. We got the Page of Cups in its upright. And here's the thing about it, and this is what we like, the non-binary energy, this is the thing. They work on, like, it's the understanding, and this is the beauty of working through the context of the self. It's understanding our weirdness versus others' weirdness, right? Like the space by which like the space by which we're healed is effectively an amplification of owning our own weirdness, right? It's a modality by which it's like it's understanding and saying like, yeah, I know what my portion of weirdness is. I don't know what that portion is, right? And the beauty that happens when we energetically own our weirdness is the space by which we become each other's joy, right? It's the observation of understanding, right? It's the understanding of our own personal well of the self, right? It's the understanding of what exists within our own cup. And the space by which we work, and this is why we talk about it, and you'll often notice this, right? The space by which it's a good thing to be obsessed with understanding the self, right? It's a good thing to be obsessed with understanding the self, because in the space by which we work to understand ourselves, we become a blessing to those around us, right? And what'll often happen in a trauma environment, you'll be doing all your work to understand the self, and somebody will literally say to you, you're self-obsessed, and being like, exactly, right? That's not a bad thing, right? The understanding and the recognition, and this is the important thing, right? The difference between being obsessed with understanding the self is the space by which we become a safe space, right? When we become energetically invested in understanding ourselves, we become a safe space for those around us, because it's the understanding that nobody's going to kind of hit something within us that we ourselves don't know to be there, right? It's not the modality by which we ourselves work through something, and it's the surprise energy, right? Like it's the space by which you don't find any surprises. And it's not to say that everything there is perfect, but the ability to understand and be able to rationalize in relationality to what effectively concerns us, and the space by which we ourselves are able to articulate it. I keep on seeing that this is the energy that recognizes that that is the blessing for what it is, but has had to heal, right? Has had to heal from experiences by which another person tried to fault them for being too invested in understanding the self. Because when you understand the self, you have a tendency of not sticking around a trauma environment, right? You don't have that tendency of sticking around a space by which you yourself aren't energetically appreciated, nor are you in the space by which you create the space by which others make you question the self. Because it's the questioning that you bring to the self that allows for the feeling of energetic stability. And in that stability, one finds solace, because it's the solace that we find, that we recognize and identify, that has to do with our own sense of energetic responsibility in terms of how we feel versus what another person is trying to project upon us. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who attended our recent class on the World card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the sword suites, the court cards in the sword suite. If you'd like to become part of that tarot class program, it's going to be this Wednesday. And your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our classes each and every month. As a monthly subscriber, you will have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning the next class, but if you want to catch up, you got a couple of days left too. And on top of that, you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my stack, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of readings, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system, as well as a complimentary mentorship class with me where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also have access to my Mystic Meditation articles. I just released one today on navigating this new moon that we've got coming up. I also want to let you guys know, on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow. That is our daily collective read. We are going to get started on personal readings. Congratulations. Congratulations to Avatar. You got our highest gifter today. You will be the third person read for, and congratulations as well to Nikki. You will have an additional card in your reading. If anybody else wants to get on the list for today, you will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also going to be doing a giveaway when we get to 50K likes today. I will be gifting a reading back to the collective, so make sure you're tapping that screen and we'll get to 50K in no time. Just reading over some of the comments that came through, and just a reminder to anyone who's joining us across the other apps, if you would like to get on the list for today, you can also do so via my tree that has links in it in my bio. How are you doing today? I know it was adorable. It was really cute to see. Grand Rising, Heather, good to see you. And thank you so much, Dr. Genuine, for sharing this live as well. I appreciate you. Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful start to your day. Welcome, Lola. And Bridget, thank you for sharing the live as well. I deeply appreciate you as well. How are you doing? Thank you as well, Hilda, for the shares too. And yes, absolutely. So good to see you as well, Julia, today. Grand Rising. Thank you guys for recharging your heart needs. Just a reminder, if you're on the Clock app and you would like an Animal Spirit Guide card on top of your one card, please make sure that you're recharging your heart needs. Good to see you today, Lisa. How are you doing today, dear? Lola, absolutely. Make sure that you're approaching situations with a sense of proportionality and grounding. Good to see you as well. Thank you for the follow, Hilda. Grand Rising, Heather. You're so welcome, Victoria. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Chrissy. I appreciate that. Hello there, Ivana. Good to see you as well. And Dada, thank you for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. I know, I like to see that Hierophant there, though. You know, like the Hierophant the Hierophant there has a lot to do with feminine kind of trusting themselves. It's going well, Dada. How are you doing today? And thank you for that gift, Avatar. I appreciate you. Excellent. Absolutely. Excellent. Oh, beautiful. It's a beautiful day, Dada. I hope you enjoy it with them. Absolutely. And thank you for those gifts as well. I know that llama's hilarious. And thank you for encouraging everyone to send those heart knees. How are you doing today, Marcia? Hope you're having a beautiful day. Nikki, I've got you on the list here. We can work on that feeling of feeling off. It's gonna feel like that with this eclipse. Yep, I hope they keep. I'm happy to read for you, Marcia, on that. If you'd like to get on the list, list is open. It's 3 cards for $29 for non-subscribers. Thank you for the help, Avatar. And Denise, thank you for those heart knees. Grand Rising, Phoenix. I'm doing well today. How are you doing? And Christina, thank you for the follow as well. As if energy breaks versus changing forms, I can feel your vibes. I like that. It's a good way of putting that right now, Dr. Genuine. And thank you, Mike, for the follow. Good to see you today, Selena. Thank you for the compliment. And Richie, thank you for the follow as well. Thank you for confirmation as well. Ed, hold on, can I do a jewelry tour? I mean, I feel like, I feel a little uncomfortable, like, showing all of that stuff off him, to be perfectly honest. You know, it's like, it's always a little odd to me. I'm happy to show you something if there's something that you see that intrigues you. And thank you for the compliment, Nikki. I appreciate it. Grand Rising, Esteban. Good to see you today. How are you doing, Simp? Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful start to your day. Welcome, Marisha. I love that you include, absolutely. You're so welcome. And thank you for being here and receiving these messages. I hope you're having a beautiful day. As I mentioned, friends, we are going to get started on personal readings. If you would like to get on the list, it's a great time to get on the list. You will be the 4th person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers, being semi-lio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. Also, just a reminder to anybody joining us today, if you're on the hold list and would like to be added back to the list, just let me know the date that you are added to the hold list. I'll be happy to add you back. I will also stress we're not going to be on as long as we typically are today. So if you want to get on the list, please do so sooner rather than later. If you'd like to secure a spot on the list, I'm probably only going to take a few more individuals on the list today. First person, good to see you, Ella. Grand Rising. The first person we are reading for today, though, is going to be Nikki. Actually, I know Kay Megan asked for the first spot on the list. I know we're on a little bit later, but I do want to see if Kay Megan is here. So Kay, if you're here, please let me know. If Kay is not here, we are going to move toward. We are going to continue with Nikki's reading. Absolutely, Ruby. If you have to get back to work, I'm happy to draw a card for you. Just let me know what that question is. And Nikki, before we get started on Nikki's reading, we are going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. I'm going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the seal. Thank you for participating. We'll be doing that again after the next reading. Excellent. One card for Ruby, please. Highest priority messages. I mean, it's saying to me, there's a lot of that energy that's saying, if you build it, they will come. Like the observation of effectively recognizing or identifying, right? Like it's a continuation of working through the space that healthy manifestation is not a latent space, right? It's a space by which we put our hopes towards something, but then we do, but then we do something, but then we effectively identify if there's a way that we can move closer towards it. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, specifically with this, like I keep on getting specifically with this, like 8 of Wands energy. I feel like there's something I see that of you navigating there, specifically and particularly in terms of having some kind of desire to energetically communicate with someone, being able to kind of tell them like how, like what, like I keep on getting like what your own thoughts or feelings are in relationality to something that happened, or trying to get to the bottom of it is what I keep on seeing. Animal spirit guide, yeah, particularly with this stag energy. I think it's interesting because like the stag energy, I feel like the stag energy is, I feel like you and another person have gone through a lot of similar situations. Like it almost says to me, it's like it's giving me the space of someone who's like going through something in a way that feeling like nobody will understand, and you being like you saying to them like almost saying to them like, why don't you like don't like I like you knowing very clearly in relationality to, like I keep on seeing somebody who's like had to be a little bit standoffish in terms of ending an unhealthy connection is what I keep on seeing, right? It's giving me a lot of that type of energy in relationality to something. So it's like, it's almost like somebody who's got their guard up, but they've got their, it's like they've got their guard up because they're actively healing from something. All right, we're going to continue right now. It's always the frog, Nikki. All right, let's continue right now. Absolutely. Well, always making sure that you're not interfering in a connection as it relates to building a new one, right? Like that. Remember when I said in terms of not crossing the streams, like making sure that there's not a miscommunication in relationality to how you feel about things versus where they are. But everything I keep on seeing there feels like I keep on getting like some kind of volatility as it relates to something that's happening is what I keep on seeing, you know? Thank you so much, dear. All right, we're going to continue right now. The next person we're reading for is Nikki, and we are going to be doing, hold on a minute. I just need a moment to read over. This is Inside Tea, so I just need a moment to read over the message. Just a reminder to anybody joining us, if you have information that you feel is relevant for our reading, if you have a dream that you would like interpreted or a past life you would like more information on, you can include it in the notes when you send the donation. You can also post it in our subscriber-only Disco channel in the appropriate channel. This is Inside Tea, though, so it is private, so I just need a moment before we continue with our reading. And if anybody else wants to get on the list, it is a wonderful time to get on the list. You will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. Mm. I got you, dear. All right. And thank you guys we are almost at 50K. When we get to 50K, I'll be gifting everything back to the collective. Can I please have, and before we continue right now, let me just put a sheet over this. Thank you. Can I please have 4 cards, please? And thank you for being the first person on the list today, dear. You'll actually have an additional card in your reading. Two more, please. One more. So one of the things I'm seeing right now, I want to describe, I see someone deep within the space of working through shadow work. And the thing that we identify, and I want to describe this, when we're working through shadow work, it's incredibly important that we don't project that shadow work onto those around us. And it's often, and I like to, and I literally see a situation by which another individual has experienced a lot of trauma. Specifically, I keep on getting a lot of trauma specifically related to another person, making them feel like they have to doubt their own, to doubt their own perception on things. And I want to describe that what I'm effectively seeing there, and I keep on getting this, right? The space by which another person actually went through an experience by which another person was perpetually invested in making them doubt themselves, right? Like somebody who was completely spinning another person around, right? Literally somebody showing something to another person and then that person saying, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Working through that level of trauma, right? The experience by which another person was having to go through the space by which another person had them. I keep on getting the space by which they were effectively questioning their own sanity until they were in the space by which they were able to effectively show proof around something is what I keep on seeing. I keep on getting the state by which they themselves are working to heal from that, right? And so I've got a lot of this energy here, and I keep on getting that is the force by which they themselves are potentially projecting something out, right? And it feels, I keep on getting, it feels defensive, right? It feels like a shield energy. It feels like somebody who's working through a lot of that emotion. Now, I'm not saying any of this. I need to stress this. I'm not saying any of this to qualify that articulating in that way is something that feels like it's supportive. But I think that the conversation that you can effectively navigate is talking to another in relationality to to what feels energetically appropriate, right? And I want to describe the way we can identify what's energetically appropriate is even when, right? Even when we're working through a lot of emotionality, right? When we're working through a lot of emotions, and again, like this is what this type of energy brings up in us, even when we're working through a lot of emotionality, it doesn't require us, right? It doesn't require us to say things that effectively we ourselves do not energetically mean, right? And the thing about it is I almost see, like I see the space by which another person is still healing, right? It's like I feel like it's like like someone is effectively revealing the fact that they are still healing from something, and the space by which they're effectively articulating, right? They're articulating something that feels like, I keep on hearing, something that doesn't feel energetically true to the relationship, but something that they've had to experience in the past, right? I feel like the conversation to help fortify or to heal is to say to them, is to almost say to them, have I given you any evidence that I am like that, right? Like you having to articulate to another and saying, you know, have I given you any evidence by which I myself are like that, right? Because I feel like that is them working into, this is a continuation of what we were effectively articulating in relationality to them, like trying to let go, right? They're trying to let go of something that used to energetically protect them in a past experience, right? They're trying to let go of something that was their only, like that was their only energetic defense in the past experience. So I feel like the way to effectively try to heal something is to say to them, did you have something like that happen to you? Right? Can you tell me? Like, can you articulate to me when you felt like that was happening so that you can better understand the context by which they are effectively articulating that in the space by which you yourself are saying to them, I've never done that to you. Like, we have never experienced that, but I recognize the fact that you're carrying a wound in here, right? And being able to recognize and identify the nature of the wound is how you can effectively tend for it. And I can see, and I feel like it's also requiring you to have to be very clear in terms of saying to another person, right? Having to have the conversation with another person by which you can say to them, like, look, I want to help you heal something, but I also want to feel safe and secure as I help you to heal it, right? We never want to be in an experience by which we ourselves are working through something, but even in the space by which we work through something, right? Healing shouldn't hurt, right? Healing shouldn't hurt, which means like we can work through something, but we have to be mindful of not hurting each other in the context by which we ourselves are trying to work through it. I want to give you some bottom of the deck information, so something to keep in mind as you go forward right now. Yeah, specifically with the Ace of Pentacles, right? The modality or the experience by which we ourselves articulate upon something that is, I feel like it's the space of having a conversation upon what feels like a healthy energetic standard, right? So the conversation that you can effectively have with another in relationality to what is and is not okay. So, and I like to point out, like, when we have healthy standards, the modality by which we communicate them to each other allow us to understand that we don't need to hold the same energetic standards, but we have to respect each other. We have to respect each other's standards. And this, I keep on hearing, when we're upset, the standards don't go out the window, right? When we're upset, it's not the state by which we effectively project our feelings onto each other, but it's a space by which we can articulate upon what feels like it is helpful or what feels like it's energetically productive. So I feel like the conversation, like the healing conversation, is the conversation in terms of how that could have gone differently, and being able to effectively identify or articulate how one could have effectively communicated that better, rather than how it effectively played out. So make sure that you're having that conversation, and more than anything, like, don't, if you're still healing from it, like, it's not about sweeping something under the rug, right? It's not about the space of someone saying it'll never happen again, because often what happens, right, is when we notice that energetic tendency, right, the observation of understanding what we can effectively prepare for versus what we can't effectively predicate upon, is the space by which we say, when it happens again, right, which it will, right, what are we going to effectively implement that's different to allow for a different result to happen? So make sure, I keep on hearing, like, make sure that you're not sweeping it away. Make sure that you're having a productive conversation in terms of allowing the space by which it will not reach that point again, right? So effectively being able to understand and implement what that process is. Not the space by which another person says, I won't. Being like, well, I don't, if you didn't feel like you were going to, right? Like, I keep hearing, I won't disappears in the heat of the moment if we have that tendency. So that ability of being able to recognize or identify is going to effectively allow for recognition or better implementation of some kind of plan, in terms of being able to predicate it, like the space by which it's not whether it won't happen, but it's the space by which you're able to say, next time it happens, this is what we will do instead. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We also got to 50K. Thank you guys so much for helping us get to that 50K. We are going to be giving a reading back to the collective. I am going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Thank you for the compliment, KM. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Dada, and I'm so glad that you're having time to spend outside today as well. Happy Lunar New Year, Bridget. Good to see you. Excellent. Grand Rising, Ella. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question, Bridget. Yeah, and I feel like that's a space by which you've experienced that too. So you understand. Like, I feel like there's a space by which you have empathy, but I keep on having empathy doesn't mean that it doesn't create the space by which it still doesn't hurt. So being able to explain to another person how that feels, right? Yeah, it's just hard. Thank you as well, Ed. Yeah, the things that can come up, but they shouldn't be taken out on those around. Exactly. Well, and again, we never want to get in the chicken and egg situation in argumentation, like saying, well, you did this, so I did that, right? Not being in the space of matching energy if something feels like it's not moving in the right direction, but being able to effectively articulate and say to someone like that, this is not moving in a direction that I feel comfortable with. Yeah, sending you so much support on that. Oh, you did. God loving, can you tell me the initial where you sent the donation so I can confirm I received it? Just the initial. I don't need the full name of the space where you sent it, my dear. All right, and while we wait for confirmation on that, we are going to continue. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. The next, before we get started, we are going to give away that reading. Thank you guys so much for helping us get to 50K over on the Clock app. I am going to think of a number right now between 1 and 43. First person I see that posts a number will get the reading. First person I see, not the first person that posted. Sometimes I see things in a different order than you guys post them. Claire, congratulations. We'll do that again when we get to 100K. In the meantime, if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the you'll be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. Just bear with me a moment. I'm just confirming the list. And in the meantime, Avatar, you are the next person. Congratulations on winning the highest gifter. If you could please let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And I've got you on the list as well, GF, so you are now on the list as well. Yep. Oh, no problem. It was Claire one. Yep. Excellent. All right, and thank you for those gifts, Hardy P. Okay, thank you for letting me know that, Nikki. I appreciate you. The next person on the list for today, if Avatar had to step away, is GF. GF, if you're here, could you let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the second person read for. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. While we wait for GF's question, the next person, we are going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Emo cow. We'll do that again after the next reading. And in the meantime, if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you'll be the second person read for. Okay, excellent. The one time. Absolutely. Oh, looking forward to it, dear. Always up for a dream reading. Yeah, God loving. I'm just God loving. I'm waiting for your question to come through. So if you could let me know if we're doing a general or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And as I mentioned, if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you'll be the second person read for. It's a great time to get on the list. If you'd like to get on the list, we're doing a general. That's perfect. I'm going to pin you up here, guys. Make sure to give God loving some love. All right, perfect. Can I please get 3 cards? Highest priority. Yes, and 1 more, please. I feel like you have to have a hard conversation with someone. Whoop! Hold on a minute. Speaking of which, 1 second. There, that's better. Perfect. Okay. But like, like that's. But I need to describe this. I feel like the hard conversation that you need to have with someone is. I feel like the hard conversation you need to have with someone is working through. Is like it's working through a higher pleasure. Is what I keep on getting. You know, like I feel like I see somebody around you that's very much like they're working through the state of identifying what feels immediately gratifying is all I keep on seeing, right? Like it's like I just see somebody who's like kind of working into that space where they're just like immediate gratification. But the thing is, and the thing you have to recognize, and this is often why we often have to help those that are in the space by which they're identifying immediate gratification is like hard work pays off, right? It's the space by which we put a lot of work into something, and the gift that or the benefit that we have in relationality to doing something is having I keep on getting like it's having a skill. It's cultivating something within us that we then get energetically confident about. I feel like the hard part about it is, I see like it almost feels like an argument that you're having with someone in relationality to them articulating upon something that they see that you're doing that they feel like you've come upon easily. And I keep on seeing like you have to correct them and say that there's been nothing easy, right? Like I keep on seeing this. It's like I see you saying to someone, like what you see as ease is the result of a lot of hard work, Like I feel like, yeah, like I literally see you having to say to someone, right? Like there's a lot of hard work that came through that easement point, right? And I think that it's hard because it almost feels to me like someone who is only introduced to you after you were good at something. Is it keep on saying, you know what I mean? Like the failure point of the young, not recognizing, not seeing someone who they're like, wow, you're naturally good at something, and you being like, no, 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 no. There was a lot of work by which like it's like you don't see all the work that it takes to become naturally good at something is what I keep on seeing. And the hard part about this is I really do feel like you're kind of in a space by which you're trying to help another person understand the benefits of resilience. And the hard part is like when you're trying to teach someone the benefits of resilience, it often requires it requires the space by which you have to show them, right? You have to encourage them that like something I keep on hearing like something that they don't feel necessarily great at, they can perfect, right? There's nothing, and that's the hard part about it. Like I like to describe it like this is what we often talk about, right? Like this is what we talk about with like kicking and screaming to a certain extent, because the modality by which another person learns the ability, like, and we don't talk enough about this, the ability of helping another person learn that they can get better at something. It often requires us to build into the context of learning how to endure when we're not, right? It's like it's like the space by which we want to get hard on ourselves, but then having to say like this is what we mean by like building in a sense of endurance, right? And the funny part about it, the endurance that we feel is often is often the space by which we get hard on ourselves, right? And I feel like you understand this, right? And I feel like I see something by which, you had to fight for something tooth and claw. Like I literally see a situation by which you yourself, like, really had to effectively, like, prove yourself to something. And I feel like it's hard because, like, I see, like I almost see somebody observing you, and then and I don't think you're doing this intentionally, but it's like almost a space by which they feel like, and I feel like that, I feel like you have to share with them your story, is what I keep on getting, right? You have to share with them your story, because I want to describe this. Like, I feel like I see somebody who holds you, right? They see you as energetically perfect, like perfect, right? And you having to say to someone, like, and this is what we mean in relationality to, like, building into the context of like of love, is saying, like, the perfect, right? Like, the perfect that you see is, and I feel like that's the thing, you identify it. You're like, it's far from it, but you work, like, you potentially work to energetically perfect it, right? You work towards something over and over again in the modality by which you yourself are trying to articulate in a way that another person can effectively identify and recognize why something is so important to you. So, um, I think that the most that, like, I feel like it's really important that you're able to connect them with that story, because I know that you don't see yourself, right, as energetically perfect, but I almost see them seeing you, and their desire to kind of be in the space by which you are, right, is helping them to understand that, I keep on seeing you saying to someone, right, that that ability of them finding what they're exceptional in, or that ability of them, I keep on seeing, like, you saying to someone that what they feel vulnerable in is where their unique lies, right? Like, it's the space by which I see them kind of like working into the context by which they want to get better, right? And I keep on hearing you have to say to them, like, that vulnerability is where your uniqueness is, right? That desire, like that frustration, right? Like that frustration they feel, right? And this is the thing we have to, I feel like you almost have to say to them, right? Like, if you go through that frustration, you're going to find your uniqueness, because it's the space by which you feel the frustration, and then you want to be reactive against it. You want to do something in a way that builds into the space of showing yourself that you can. Um, I feel like the hard part about it is, um, and I keep on seeing, like, I feel like it's almost like you have to say to someone, like, say to them, like, every day doing something that they're uncomfortable with, right? Like, every day, like, putting themselves out there in a way that they haven't before. Because I just keep on seeing that it's interesting, because I keep on hearing they've got a lot of latent talent. And the thing about latent talent is, when we've got latent talent, we have to, like, reach in ourselves to pull it forth, right? We have to put the application of effort in. But I keep on seeing that once they kind of see, like, once they identify and recognize some of that, like, some of that importance or some of that significance, it's going to effectively, like, it's going to inspire them to try harder. Bottom of the deck, yeah, especially with this temperance energy, right? They're too hard on themselves. They give up. Like, it's giving me a lot of this energy of someone who, like, as soon as they experience an obstacle, like, the sense of wanting to give up, right? Like, and I feel like I see you. You've got a little bit more of that Aries. Like, you've got a little more of that spunk, is what I keep on getting, right? Like, there's a little bit of that energetic spunk that I'm seeing, in relationality to working through, like their own feeling of frustration with themselves. So I feel like the more that you're able to kind of help them see and understand and recognize that, the more that you're able to effectively come into the space of helping them see them, like them seeing themselves the way that you see them, is going to help them identify, right, that that limitation that they're feeling. I keep on hearing that limitation is not a limitation, it's the starting line, right? Like that's what you have to say to them. The limitation they're feeling is the starting line. So make sure that you're helping them through those energetic hurdles. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as it was reading. And just bear with me a moment. I see her. Okay, so you know who I'm speaking about. You see them struggling. Absolutely. Sending you support on that journey. Absolutely. You embrace your, but that's the thing about it. Like I see, like that's what I mean. Like I see you in a space by which you're just like, you're just like, you know, and I feel like, but here's the thing about it. It's taken you a long time to reach that point, right? Like, and I feel like it's like you observing and recognizing the space by which they, like, I keep on hearing, like, the space by which they themselves are doubting themselves, and you having to say to someone, like, I used to be like that too, right? Like what you see being like, I used to be there. I was right there with you, right? Like I was right there with you. Thank you for the follow, Danny. And thank you for those heart me's. And thank you for becoming 118th member of my fan club. Welcome. Yeah, there's such, and that's what I keep on seeing. Like you have to keep encouraging them, right? You have to keep reminding them. And I keep on, but the thing about it is, and I think that this is the thing about it that you have to tell them, like the frustration is the starting line. That's all I kept on hearing. The frustration is the starting line. Like there's no path by which you're not going to find frustration. It's more just what you do when you encounter it, you know? Sassy pants. I like that. But that's what I mean. Like, I feel like that's you being like, you're like, oh, frustration, goody. Like, you're like, oh, look, there's a frustration there. How delightful. You're so welcome, dear. It disconnected. Oh, it did. Thank you. You know what? I really appreciate that, Nikki. Thank you for letting me know. Yep. All right, let's continue right now. This is yep, perfect. Let's see if that works. Okay, thank you. And the next person we're reading for today is Nikki. Nikki, if you're here, well, Nikki, clearly you're here. Can you let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the third person. Actually, correction. I apologize, Nikki. You're not next. Angeli is next. Angeli and then Nikki. So Angeli, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And if anybody else would care to get on the list right now, you will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings. And you can book private readings on my site. Oh, that's really sweet of you, Simp. I appreciate that. Okay, well, you guys. Well, the next person I have listed is Angeli. So Angeli, why don't, if you guys are both don't mind, let's stick to the order that we had. So Angeli, you'll go first, and then we'll have Nikki's dream. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you'll be the third person read for. And before we get started on Angeli's reading, why don't we warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check? I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the hair. Thank you for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. And let me just see here. Excellent. Okay, one moment, please. Okay. Basically an air dragon. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. If you need time, then that's fine. Okay, Nikki, you're next. Nikki, could you let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you'll be the 3rd person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. Now Avatar's back. Avatar, would you let me know? Would you like to? Avatar, it's your turn, okay? Okay, the order right now. The order right now is Avatar, and then we've got, and then we'll see if Angeli's ready after Avatar goes. So Avatar, could you let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the 4th person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers, links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I don't read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. Highest priority. I got you, dear. Excellent. And I'm going to pin you up. Guys, make sure to give Avatar some love. Can I please get 3 cards, please? 4 cards, please. 2 and 2 more. And thank you for getting on the list. It's you'll be read for after Nikki. We've got 4 spots available today. If anybody else wants to get on the list before the list will be closed. So I feel like there's something I'm identifying that's really important, specifically in relationality to I want to just describe this here. You are, I feel like you are really, really good at knowing what your deficiencies are. You know? Like I see a situation or a circumstance by which you work through things. You work to be like I just keep on seeing like there's something about you being able to recognize and identify what your own deficiencies are. And I want to like and often and I feel like there's some energy that has lost you. Like absolutely lost you in their experience, in the state by which they effectively made you try to second guess yourself, right? Like I just see a situation by which another person thought that they were going to make you second guess yourself, and then they never saw you again. right? Like it's like I see energy being like I tried to make them second guess themselves, and that was it. I never saw them again. That was the last time. And you know why? You know why? You're like I almost see you like looking at something, and like the observation, like the observation of you effectively looking at another person, like in the state by which, like, I almost see you like looking at someone with like a sense of deep pity, you know, like, and I know why. Like I can see this, like this question, like I know the space by which you're asking, like why, like why would someone make you effectively feel the state of effectively questioning, like, and I want to describe this and I think you know the reason, right? It's unpleasant, but we'll just effectively articulate it, right? Unhealthy energy likes it when they feel like you are energetically dependent upon them, right? Like the modality, I like to point this out, right? The space by which another person feels the sense of trying to say it's okay, right? It's okay. This is what I'm here for, right? It's okay. This is what I'm here for, right? This is what I'm here for, dear, right? Oh, don't worry. Like this is what I'm here for, because you're in that space. This is why I keep on getting that you effectively walking away from situations like that was energetic protection. And I want to describe this because I feel like the hard part with it is potentially, like, I literally see a situation by which another person is trying to come back towards you, right? Like after a situation in relationality to that. The situation by which another person is trying to work through the space of making you question yourself. And I keep on seeing you like navigating and articulating to another, right? And I want to describe this. Don't get in an argument with it, right? The word I want to describe, the word I want to give you is don't give them fodder. Don't give them fodder, right? When you recognize that in another person, when you recognize that tendency, there's no conversation to be had. Don't I just keep on hearing, don't give them fodder. Because that's all it is. There's no conversation with some people. For some energy, it's just fodder, right? It's just the space by which they're trying to energetically irritate, right? And then they'll be like, I don't know what happened, right? I don't know what, like, some of you, like, I don't know what, like, I don't know why, like, they remove, they extricate the energetic complication, right? They extricate the complication, and then they try to articulate upon something that you effectively, that you identified, that they try to say had no logical reason, right? When you see that in another person, you're done speaking to them. There's nothing else to say. There's no conversation necessary, and I need to stress this because it feels like somebody trying to come towards you seeking closure. And I'm going to say this with like, remember, there is no closing conversation in all of human history. There has never been a conversation of closure. Closure conversations do not exist. An energy that articulates the fact that they need a closing conversation is seeking an opening. They're seeking the ability to try to energetically reopen something. So if someone owes you an apology, they can just give you one, right? Apologies don't come with conditions, but you'll recognize it, right? You'll see it. You'll see somebody who's hurt you who will then say, it would be really good if we talked about this. You know what? I think it'd be really healthy right? Someone who applies the words they try to articulate and say, I think it would be really healthy to talk. Healthy for who? Healthy for you, who's been healing from something that they did to you, or healthy for them because something that they're effectively like able to articulate is the space by which they say, oh, I tried to have a healthy conversation with them and they won't even like they like right, let them talk. There's nothing you can say, is what I keep on saying. And especially, like, I keep on hearing, like, especially in the space by which another person keeps, like, you are not denying anyone of their healing journey. I need to stress this. You are not denying anyone of their healing journey. And if another person is becoming energetically irate because they feel they keep on, they're articulating the fact that you owe them closure, no one owes anyone closure. But often someone that does not want to let go of something will try to articulate and say, all I need, like much like an addict, someone being like, all I need is one more conversation and then I'll energetically leave you alone. It never does. And often the space by which another person builds those type of conditions is exactly why you should not move towards them. The space by which another person tries to articulate a healthy conversation like an ultimatum, right, is often the space by which you can recognize what is not energetically healthy. Bottom of the deck on this reading, yeah, they'll try to articulate that you're not the healthy one, right? They'll try to articulate the fact that you're right. They'll articulate to others that you refuse to speak to them, right? But healthy energy will understand that, I keep on seeing, when another person is seeking fodder, then it's okay to make the choice by which we say, we're good, right? We're fine. You and I, we are copacetic, right? And if another person is in the space by which they want to give you an apology, I keep on hearing, an apology does not require proximity, right? You don't need to be in person to receive an apology. You can just give it. It's amazing, right? The apology is just there. So be very conscientious in relationality to another person that feels like they're being demanding to try to tell you what would be healthy. Nobody gets to tell you what's healthy but you. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list, I've got 4 spots left before the list will be closed. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers, Binks and my Lio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I don't read for across these apps, pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. We're also at 73.4K likes. When we get to 100K, I will be gifting a reading back to the collective, so make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 100K in no time. Thank you as well, just reading over. Excellent. I got you, Nikki. 444, tap to claim, Chrissy. Welcome back, Avatar, and thank you for having that reading with me and sending you support on your journey. Colleen, thank you for the follow. I know it should be a pet peeve. It's really frustrating. I can take it. Thank you as well for receiving this message, Ed. Thank you as well, Ella. Yeah, I'm here to help you with this, right? Like none of that, like none of that energy that wants to play, like that wants to play nurse. It's like absolutely not. Yes. Thank you. Yep, Jacqueline. I just need, so Jacqueline, all I need, dear, is I see you. Yep, I got you on the list. Okay, I'll add you back to now. Yep, you've been added back. And if anybody else wants to get on the list, we've got 3 spots available before the list will be closed. Yep, I got you on the list, dear. Okay, perfect. And the next person we're reading for today is Nikki. Nikki, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if we are doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And just a reminder for anybody else who wants to get on the list tonight, it's 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 2 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy and medical. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings over, and you can book private readings on my site. Okay, one moment, please. Excellent. I got you, and we're doing a dream reading. You're so welcome, Jacqueline. And let me just pull up the dream. And just a reminder to anybody joining us, if you have a dream that you would like information on, or a past life that you would like details on, you can include that information in the notes when you send the donation. You can also post it in our subscriber-only Disco channel in the appropriate channel. And just bear with me as I pull up the question. Okay. All right. And before we continue, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the hawk. Thank you for participating. We'll do that again after the next reading. All right. I've got the coconut. So we got to bust out the dream coconut when we're doing a dream interpretation. Ready? I'm getting better at that, and I'm very proud of myself for it. All right, we've got the dream interpretation here. I've got you on the list, Grace. You're next after. Yep, we've got you on the list. All right. Thank you so much. I'm proud of myself. Thank you, Avatar. Thank you for the gift. All right, where are we? All right, we've got a dream interpretation coming through. Ready? I was back in school for some reason and had joined the running club or team, which makes no sense because I seriously hate running. I don't even know why I signed up. I felt like I hadn't practiced at all, and suddenly it was race day. Before the race, I met up with a friend. I didn't really remember who. At some restaurant because I needed to eat something beforehand. All I could really have was something small, like a granola bar, which didn't feel like enough. And then we were supposed to drive down to this winding hill to the race location. And I remember thinking I was going to take my own car just in case. That was the moment I started realizing what had I gotten myself into. At the bottom of the hill, it looked kind of like a golf course, which stood out because I used to play golf in high school. The coach resembled my old golf coach. When I arrived, it was late, definitely late, and there were all these cluster or muster points where you were supposed to meet your team before the race. Everyone else seemed ready and dressed properly. I wasn't even dressed. I had shorts with me, but I hadn't changed into proper race clothes. In the dream, my voice was gone, just like it is in real life now. I'm not sure it's been gone for a few weeks now. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And I felt sick. I remember being like, I don't even know how long this thing is, and I keep trying to calculate the threshold that I would go through when I got there to find out. I thought maybe if it were under a 10K, I could push through, even though I didn't really feel well. It sort of felt like I'd been forced into doing this. And then I found out it was a 14.1K, and I just knew I couldn't do it. I told the coach I would love to participate, but I wasn't well. My voice was gone, and I didn't think I could even make it 2 miles without it being bad for my health. Part of that was true because I did feel ill, but part of it was also that I genuinely did not want to run 14.1K. The coach said they really needed me, and then the other people started saying they couldn't do it either. We were apparently in 5th place regionally, and he looked disappointed. I felt guilty, like my decision influenced everyone else backing out. I briefly considered maybe walking it, but then someone said it would take 7 hours, and I immediately thought there was no way I was doing that. Even though I felt bad, I also knew I couldn't and didn't want to do it. And then I woke up. Can I get 4 cards, please? And one more. So it's a shadow work dream about going through a maturation process. And effectively, the shadow work has to do with working into the context of recognizing the change in terms of identifying why you effectively decided to sign up for something, right? And I feel like the most important thing that we see here has to do with like the indication as to the nature or the reason of why you potentially energetically made the determination point of energetically signing up for something. Because what do we see in the dream state? We see very little indication as to why you decided to do something beyond the fact that you stated that there was a friend, right? There was that friend. There was that friend there, right? And you articulated the fact, and we see this though, right? Because the observation of moving towards something has to do with the determination of what it is that we effectively aspire, like what our effective purpose is, right? And so we basically see you working through shadow work as it relates to something that you've healed from. And the space by which we identify that is often reflective in going through experiences by which we ask ourselves why we're effectively doing something. That would be the maturation process. Now, what we effectively identify is the experience by which you find yourself on a team, right? You're in a group for something that you don't really have your heart set upon. You don't even like doing it, right? But there's that friend. And you said you don't really remember who, but you said that you needed something to eat beforehand, and all you could find was something small like a granola bar, which didn't feel well enough. Now, the important thing that we understand in the context of shadow work dreams is shadow work dreams help us to heal from trauma by reorienting the trauma in a way by which it feels reasonable to be able to experience it. So we need to understand that the trauma that you're experiencing in this dream is something that you yourself have felt before. But the guides are putting it in a way by which you can understand the full severity of what it potentially felt like. And the amplification of the understanding of seeing something that's very clear, very clearly, something that you would not do. But we've also, and this is why I like to do dream interpretation work with those that I work with in a steady way, because as we start to read into dreams, we can start to recognize the shape of what it is that we're working to heal. And we've noticed in a lot of your previous dreams a tendency in a differentiation of behavior between what it is that you will do for the self versus what it is that you will effectively do for another, right? And the capacity by which we've noticed that tendency in dream states, by which we literally see the guides showing the same thing happening, right? The modality by which it happens to you first. And we see the way that you navigate it. And then the same thing happening to another person. And the wildly proportional difference between how you navigate it to effectively defend another's boundaries versus the ability to defend your own boundaries, right? And so we see that this is potentially what's happened. There's a circumstance or situation by which you have put yourself out for the sake of a friend. So something that potentially another person desired to do, right? And you effectively agreed to do it for their sake. But now you find yourself in a situation by which you are out of your element, right? You are not intending, you did not intend or invest to do something beyond the space of trying to be a good friend, right? And this is what's interesting about it, because we even see the space by which you identified that in the dream you can't even remember who the friend is. And I need to point this out, because what we're effectively seeing is modalities by which you've experienced circumstances by which you weren't being cared for in the sake of trying to care for another, right? Because we see that you're with that friend, and the reason we see that it's a disappearing friend is because they're only friend in name, right? So potentially something that you signed up towards, you did something for another because you were being a good friend, but then in the modality by which you were doing things for another, they showed you that they weren't a great friend. And why do we see this? Because we see you going through experience after experience by which you are not being necessarily cared for, but nobody is coming to defend you in the space of you having to persevere. So for instance, you said you went with someone to get something to eat beforehand, right? You didn't feel well enough, right? You went through the experience by which you yourself didn't feel well enough. And nobody articulated the fact of saying, I don't think that you should energetically do this, right? And then we see the fact that you go back, right? You go back to the space by which you go to your car, you go back to the golf course, and you said that it stood out because it was similar to one that you yourself were actually in. And you said that when you got there, the coach felt similar to one that you yourself had. And when you got there, you were late, and there was a cluster or muster of points in terms of you were supposed to meet someone before the race, but everyone else seemed to be ready and dressed properly, but you yourself weren't dressed. Now again, we see that there's an energetic disparity point here, because it's the modality by which you're not getting the energetic information that you need in order to do something effectively. So potentially, again, working through the lack of knowledge, but the lack of knowledge potentially being in the state by which another person did not give you the information to allow you to feel supported. And you identified this in the space by which you said you didn't feel like you had the clothes that you needed, you didn't feel like you had the food that would energetically prepare you for it. And then you found out that instead of running the 10K that you were expecting, that it had become a 14K. And you recognized that wouldn't be potentially possible. So this is potentially working through circumstances or situations by which another person potentially asks you to do something energetically small, right? Working through something that feels energetically proportionate, but then the space by which another person takes advantage of you, right? And continues to effectively ask for more, and in the state by which you aren't effectively prepared for the growing, right, the growing need, or the space by which another person, like recognizing what feels, and this is often what happens when we're feeling taken advantage of, it's the space by which we effectively agree to something, and then the need grows, and it doesn't feel, and the space by which we feel like we're letting another down, but not being in the space of being able to articulate our standards in terms of what it is that we ourselves were led to expect something would be. So we see that this is the guides that are effectively showing this to you in the space of a situation by which another person, right, you're going through an experience by which the continuation feels like the goalpost is perpetually moving. And even in the space by which the goalpost is moving, it's creating those modalities or experiences by which you yourself are articulating to another, right? You're articulating to another what you could energetically expect versus what you effectively found there. moving towards, and I want to describe this, the end of the dream is effectively showing you the full weight of that trauma, right? Because it's potentially working through situations by which you yourself feel like a failure, right? But the modality of understanding that often when we're being taken advantage of, we leave situations feeling like failures because it's a modality of the need that grows that often requires us to have to put those boundaries down, right? Recognizing and identifying that when we care about each other, we prepare, right? We give each other what we need in order to do something as effectively as possible. So it's a dream that's effectively showing you what you're effectively working through as it relates to feeling, right? As it relates to those experiences or those modalities by which you blame yourself or feel that weight, failing to recognize or identify the shape of another taking advantage of you that often makes us feel energetically devastated as we walk away from something instead of feeling the audacity in the space of something that is perpetually changing in ways that we did not logically or reasonably get the expectation upon. Bottom of the deck on this reading, yeah, particularly with the emperor, right? It's very interesting because it talks about, the dream itself talks about the nature of compassion, right? The ability of potentially initially articulating the desire to effectively help out, or the space by which we ourselves work through things. Now, it's important too because the guides like to show us things, often in the space by which we become energetically responsible, right? It's very common for an expectation to effectively grow, but the appreciation, right? The appreciation of being able to articulate to another, right? The appreciation that we articulate to another in relationality to that burden of responsibility is utilized and amplified and articulated by our own ability to feel energetically prepared for it, right? And so this is potentially working through the context, right? The emperor energy. It's not the question as to whether you can do something. It's the question of the nature of how the energy around you is responding to making sure that you can do it in the most effective way possible. This is why we talk about the nature of appreciation is the space by which we're able to identify and recognize, right? Another person that feels the state of or nature of understanding and allowing for that point of appreciating our effort. So we see here that for a lot of the energy working through that adaptability or that conversation by which you yourself are working through, I feel like it's helping you to effectively identify the experiences by which you can lay those healthy boundaries, right? The state by which you can identify when it feels like another person isn't giving you what you need, right? Like showing up to the race that you told you that said would be one thing, but turns out to be something completely different, versus those modalities by which, right, by which you yourself can effectively implement things to make sure that those are effectively being held, right? So it's helping you to identify what you can change within versus what it is that you can experience without. Thank you so much for having this reading with me, Darren. If this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now, and I'm actually going to be closing the list. But if you'd like to get on the list for tomorrow, you'll be the first person read for. You'll also have an additional card in your reading. It's 3 cards and you'll also be read for. If you get on the list tonight, you'll be first to be read for before we start the daily collective tomorrow. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Grand Rising, Michelle, how are you doing today? Yeah, that's wild. Yep. The strength card is interesting. It's not about whether you can do it. It's about recognizing you can do anything so long as you're energetically prepared for what you can expect. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you for confirmation. I've metaphorically decided to take myself out of the race, even though it makes me feel bad. But this is the thing that you identify, right? Which is the observation. Like, it's not you taking yourself out of the race in the modality by which another person, it's like, I keep on saying, it's the space by which you recognize what is, like, what you were expected to believe versus what another person is asking from you, right? And that adaptability, like your recognition in relationality to that, is helping you to effectively work through what feels energetically healthy, right? And when we care about each other, we don't change, like, we don't change on each other like that, right? We're very clear in terms of what we're reasonably expecting. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, let's continue right now. The next person on the list for today is, we've got here, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you would like a general reading or if you have a specific question you would like me to answer. And if anybody else would like to get on the list for today, the list is closed, but you can get on the list for tomorrow and you'll be the first person read for. You'll also have an additional card in your reading. Hi there. Oh, welcome back, Angelic. Excellent. Wonderful. I'm still looking. Oh, it's in the disco. Perfect. Okay, great. So we'll do, it's my, yep. Excellent. And you sent via email. Okay. So are you comfortable with me doing It's My before we do your reading? I just, yep. All right, perfect. And let me just pull it up. No, I appreciate that, dear. Okay. All right, looks like we're doing, hold on. Got it. Okay. All right, so it sounds like we're doing a, all right, I feel like I'm getting a sense of, it sounds like we're doing an energetic update in relationality to how you're feeling right now. In terms, like in terms of what you're effectively receiving and what you feel is energetically missing. So I've got you. Okay, perfect. We can definitely read upon that. And before we continue, though, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the blackbird. We'll do that again after the next reading. All right. And I'm going to pin up, yeah, my dreams are in single flashes or a picture or of what I told you. I got you, dear. Yep. And thank you guys for supporting each other in the comments. Absolutely. I got you, dear. Hi there, Robin. All right. Let me pin you up. Four cards, please. And 2 more. So I feel like in relationality to the flashes, I feel like they're interesting because I keep on I would be very curious if they're flashes from past experiences is what I keep on seeing, specifically because um, I feel like there's something about them that's when we're too much in our head space, we can only see things from the perspective that we ourselves are experiencing them. But the observation that I'm recognizing here has to do specifically, um, and I want to describe this. When and it's working through, I want to describe like what feels like it is productive and healthy versus something that feels like it's energetically not healthy. And everything I keep on identifying there has to do with the nature of our own feeling of, I keep on hearing our own feeling of protectiveness about things. And it's interesting because, especially with this Emperor in its reversal, um, I want to describe, I feel like you've gone through a lot of experiences by which another person, and I keep on seeing this. This is important to work through. Like these flashes are entirely connected to trauma, and everything I keep on seeing in relationality to the trauma is like I keep on hearing something that says like I wouldn't do that if I were you, right? Like, and I want to describe the space by which we work through. Like, what? Why I don't know why those words are coming up. Um, in relationality to this reading, but the modality by which you've had to have that experience, right? The state by which another person tries to identify the nature or the force of care that they feel about you, right? The nature and the force of care that they feel about another that works into, right? Like when we care about each other, we articulate to each other how much we mean to one another, right? But we don't communicate our love as warning is what I keep on getting. And that's what's interesting about this reading. It keeps on saying when we care about each other, we never communicate our care as warning, which is the modality or the experience by which I feel like you've had to heal from situations that you recognized were trauma environments, specifically and particularly in the space by which another person's force of care amplifies, not in the space by which they care about you, right? But the space by which you recognized or identified that you did not necessarily feel energetically safe, seen, and supported, and the modality by which another person, right, instead of articulating love, tried to communicate threat, right? Like, I want to describe this. Like, I see you in a way. Like, I mean, like wrong. Like when I say wrong door, I need to stress this, right? Like all I'm seeing in relationality to all I'm seeing in relationality to another person, like and I want to just like I want to describe like there's some energy, like maybe there's some energy that puts up with it. You know what I mean? But I'll put it this way. There's some energy that might like when when I articulate the fact that there might be some energy that feels affected by that, I just want to say, like, never. When I say that was the first time and the last time that happened, is what I keep on seeing. When I keep on hearing that was the first time and the last time it happened, it's almost saying to me, right? Like, I just keep on seeing that's like, I keep on getting like that's that type of energy, you know? Like, it's like, I would not, I feel like there's a lot of energy that lock themselves out of your life. I keep on seeing on at least 2 occasions by which another person, right? Like, another person tried to, like, I keep on hearing like another person tried to implement some kind of like working through their insecurity in the space by which they tried to apply a fear tactic to you. And you saying, I'm going to show you. Like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it means. And then they knew what fear was. Is what I keep on seeing. I keep on getting. And then they did not know what fear was before that. And then and I feel like you worked very quickly to help them understand like what exactly fear means, is what I keep on seeing, right? Because I keep on getting, you've got a lot of, like, you got a lot of that mama bear energy in you, right? Don't mistake the kindness for weakness. Don't confuse the gentleness like, don't confuse the gentleness. Like, the gentleness is a choice. And I keep on seeing like the modality by which somebody articulated that. I want to describe, I keep on hearing like that's why it's interesting by which you're saying that you're having those, like, it's interesting that you said that it's names being like the drop of the name is what you articulated, because you, like, I keep on hearing, like, I feel like it's a space by which others still talk about, right? Like, it's giving me like ear ringing in relationality to another person speaking upon you. But I keep on hearing like they're like speaking upon you with I keep on hearing like speaking upon you with like, I keep on hearing like I want to describe the word awe. The thing about awe is awe has equal points, respect, and fear in it. And that's why we utilize the word awe, because it's awe is the modality by which another person says, I almost see some energy, like, and I'd be curious, because I would be curious if you know the connection to the names that you're hearing, because I keep on hearing it's a lot of the energy that I feel like learned, like, I keep on hearing like they had to work through a very heavy energetic lesson in relationality to what is acceptable, is what I keep on getting. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, King of Wands and its reversal, right? And that's what I mean with King of Wands and its reversal, right? I like to, like, there's a lot of this energy here, particularly with the King of Wands and the Emperor. And I like to point this out when I read energy like this, you know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting the stories people will say to avoid what really happened. It's very interesting the stories that individuals will say to hide what happened, is all I keep on hearing, right? And the modality by which another person, right? The modality by which another person is not proud of you, only like energy, like, and this is why we work with integrity, which is often the space by which we say, like, even the space by which we say we do something and we say I wasn't proud, right, is the modality by which we say it's not something that I would do. But when someone lacks integrity, they will make up stories about what happened to hide the fact that they're not proud of the person that they were in that moment. And I feel like there's some association to those names in relationality to them working through the space of, I keep wondering, working through the space of the stories that they make up to hide what really happened in a moment by which they're not proud of what they did, is all I keep on hearing. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to experience, to be here to receive them. We are doing personal readings right now. The list is closed, but if you'd like to get on the list, for tomorrow, you'll be the first person read for. You'll also have an additional card in your reading. And the next person we're reading for today, I'm just going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Okay. Excellent. You did get it. Good job, Sim. It's such a good feeling. How are you doing today, Christopher? Yeah, the empty back out. Interesting. It's a bit of a void, but this is why I keep on seeing, like, it's a void because it's them identifying what they avoid. You know, and you can usually tell this because when somebody's in that space, it's like, you know, they hear your name, a chill runs through them. It's like, all right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sending you so much support on that journey, dear. Oh, yeah, no, I get it. I see it. I understand it. But that's what I keep on hearing with good reason, right? Yeah. 1 million, it's, yeah, percent. Oh, right plan, Robin. Well done, doctor. Yeah, genuine. Yeah, I did. Don't let me clear. Yeah, clear-minded. One. Thank you, Julia. The list is closed today, but you will be the first person we read for tomorrow, and you'll also be read for before we start the daily collective. Yeah, one was someone from high school. Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, no accountability or responsibility. Yeah, the stories they create, unnecessary roughness. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, absolutely. No problem, dear. Absolutely. And sending you support on that journey. Hi, Mabs. How are you doing today, dear? Excellent. All right, let's continue right now. The next person we're reading for today we're looking for Jacqueline. Jacqueline, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And as I mentioned, the list is closed tonight, but if you'd like to get on the list for tomorrow, you'll be the first person read for, and you'll also have an additional card in your reading. You'll also be read for before we start the daily collective. You're so welcome, dear, and sending you support. Second call for Jacqueline. Second call for Jacqueline. All right, if Jacqueline is not here, I'm also looking for Angelique. Angelique, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you I know that you sent me over your question. I just want to confirm that you're still here. And just bear with me. Hi, dear. How are you? Excellent. Let me pull up your question. Excellent. Okay. Oh, sending you support on that journey, dear. Can you please confirm? Can you please confirm the name that you sent where you sent the information? No, it's okay. I think it's fine. Oh, I see it here. Okay. Got it. All right. Can I please get, we're going to be doing an energetic read in relationality to the circumstance or situation. And before we continue, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the blackbird again. Thank you for participating. We'll do it again after the next reading. And can I please get 4 cards, please? Highest priority messages. And 2 more, please. Thank you. And 1 more. So, as it relates to what I'm seeing, and I feel like there's something really important in relationality to working through the context of healthy boundaries. And I keep on getting that the most important thing to recognize is, and this has been coming through a lot right now in the space of our readings, and I'm sure that this is going to continue a lot as we work through a lot of this eclipse cycle. The identification point in building into the context of what feels energetically clear, right? And when we're clear, right, like when we're in a healthy space, like I need to describe this, clarity is clarity, right? It's the modality by which we articulate upon what we're energetically clear on, and the space by which another person holds our standards is the state by which we ourselves are energetically safe, right? That's effectively like this is what we recognize and identify as it relates to healthy standards. And the modality by which, I keep on seeing, the modality by which we hold our standards and another person identifies that those standards are an issue, I want you to understand and recognize your standards are your source of protection, right? Your standards protect you. And the modality by which you effectively holding your standards reveals things is further confirmation of how well those standards are working towards your benefit. And so even in the modality by which something is effectively weird happening, right? The state by which you and another person were energetically clear in terms of what those standards were, and the space by which another person is trying to articulate that there's some kind of problem, but they won't go into, right? They won't go into the state of telling you what that problem is, right? Then that is often the passive aggressive energy of recognizing a trauma environment, which is the space by which another person is not holding our standards as they do their our own, but rather are trying to enforce the fact that there are consequences for having those standards. And no, they're not inclined to describe it. And no, they're not inclined to tell you what you're energetically doing wrong. But they're just going to effectively continue to give you consequences with the hope that those standards will effectively dissolve. I want you to recognize that that is literally the shape of a trauma environment. The ability to understand and recognize that when there's something that we are not doing that's correct, the modality by which another person will tell us and saying this is what occurred and this is what you can do differently is the space of being in a healthy place. The observation of a problem that is easily remedied and solved with application of invested effort. This is what the problem is. This is what you can do to correct it. But the observation, the recognition of a trauma environment is the space by which another person says, everything's fine. No, there's nothing there's nothing happening. Oh, but there are consequences that are happening, right? Because it's the observation of another person that's not going to say to you, oh, your standards are a problem, right? Potentially even recognizing that they would get in trouble for saying so. But the modality by which they're trying to give you the vibration, like they're trying to show you the energetic consequence if you effectively apply a standard to a situation. Making sure that you are in a space by which you feel safe, seen, and supported is the space by which another person can give you absolute clarity in relationality to something that is energetically happening, not the space by which they're asking you to read between the lines. Trauma environments will often create the space by which they won't outright tell you what they want you to do, but the space by which they're creating the consequence of asking you to read between the lines in relationality to what is happening is often the space by which we recognize and identify what feels energetically supportive to ourselves. So make sure, right? Make sure that you are having healthy conversations to another as it relates to what is happening. And I want to say that one of the ways that you can usually articulate, one of the ways that you can usually define the space of being in a trauma environment is just repeating back to another person what's effectively happening. So not the space by which you argue with them, but the space by which you present to them the series of events in relationality to how they're being perceived. So the ability that you say to another, let me make sure that I'm understanding you properly. This happened, and then this happened as a consequence of that. And the modality by which they are able to clarify is helping you to recognize, right, whether they are in fact committed to effectively protecting you, to being in a space by which they prioritize your safety and security, or the modality by which they are asking you to do something, but refusing to state what it is that they want you to do, but articulating the consequences that will occur if you don't do it the way that they aspire you to do so. So I feel like this is a modality that I keep on seeing if you're unsure if that is happening, right? If you are unsure that you are in fact in a trauma environment, then the best way to effectively clarify that is the modality by which you say, let me make sure that I'm absolutely clear upon what is happening right now. And then just articulate to them the series of events that have happened consecutively to effectively identify the recognition of making sure that you and another person are confirming what is effectively happening at that moment. I want to give you some bottom of the deck information, so something to keep in mind going forward. Specifically with the Page of Wands in its reversal, this is the hard thing that we recognize as it relates to the ability to identify and recognize energetic standards, right? We always aspire, right? We always aspire the fact that others hold standards the way that we ourselves do. And unfortunately, right? Unfortunately, we exist in a space by which some energy lacks standards, right? And it's painful because that lack of standards affects all of us, right? The negativity in lacking standards is the modality by which we often have to reaffirm our standards. So the modality by which, and I like to point this out, right? If they're saying one thing and they're doing another, right? They have no standards, right? The modality by which they articulate upon it, right? The space by which they said one thing, but it seems like something else is happening, is the identification of someone who potentially lacks standards, right? But and here's the hard part about it. Somebody who lacks standards will often not say to you, oh yeah, I lack standards, right? Like that's the hard part about it. It's just the experience of understanding. This is the hard part about it. If only we lived in a space by which someone who lacks standard goes, oh yeah, I have no standards, right? There are no standards here, right? Those standards, oh, those standards that I articulated, they were an illusion, right? Oh no, I have to say I have those standards, but I don't really have them, right? Like you'll experience people like that. You'll experience people who are like, oh yeah, those standards, yeah, they're illusion. Yeah, those are the illusionary standards. But unfortunately, individuals don't talk like that. And often the painful point is when you recognize, right, when you recognize someone that lacks standards, it's the observation of someone that's not holding the standards that they articulated that they held. And the modality by which we make someone aware, right? The way we can usually tell that is a space of saying, let's make sure that we're being clear in terms of the standards. And then saying, I just want to be clear because it seems to me that this is what's happening that feels like it's in violation of the standards that you articulated. It just seems like these things don't match. And I like to point out when something doesn't match, right? The space by which another person, right? And again, the only sound you should hear, right? The only sound you should hear when you make someone aware that these are the standards that they articulated and this is what you're experiencing is the sound, I am so sorry. Oh my gosh, I did not realize that. Holy, like if you don't hear someone that immediately is aware or the space by which another person immediately comes into the space by which they themselves are working to remediate that, then it's usually intentional, right? The modality by which another person says, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, they do, right? If their first immediate response isn't, oh my God, I am so sorry, let me immediately act to correct it. If they go, I don't know what are you getting to? What? I don't know what you're talking about, right? Huh? When you've done nothing but make it clear and another person says what, then it's entirely intentional, right? That is someone being intentionally oblique about the fact that you've recognized that they lack standards. You'll never get that. You'll never get that satisfying affirmation. There's never going to be a modality by which someone goes, you're right, I have no standards. But the modality by which another person acts clueless in the space of you being as clear as possible, then that is your confirmation, right? If they don't immediately work to correct it, but instead act completely naive to it, like what? Then the confirmation. Let that be your confirmation. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. The list is closed, but if you'd like to get on the list for tomorrow, you'll be the first person read for. You'll also have an additional card in your reading. It is, you'll also be read for prior to us beginning the daily collective. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. You're so welcome. It's fine. That's really kind. That's really kind of you to say, Dr. Genuine. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yep, I got you, dear. Absolutely. And so I keep on saying the best thing to kind of navigate is just saying, like, I just want to be clear, like making sure that just say back to someone what's happening. Just like, I want to be clear in terms of what's happening right now. Like let that build into the sense of confirmation. Absolutely. I know it's confusing, but again, let the confusion be the closure, right? Trauma environments get more confusing, not less. Absolutely. Sending you so much support on that journey, dear. And just bear with me a moment. Please remember, legitimate individual readers will never ask you to message them for a reading. Sending you so much support, dear. All right, my friends, we are moving into one-card readings for superfans. If you are a superfan and would like a one-card reading, you can go ahead and put your question in the comments. If you would like to become a superfan, your superfan status makes you entitled to a one-card. And if you are joining us over on the place where we keep the videos, your paid membership is also entitles you to a one-card reading as well. Excellent. I got you, dear. Sending you so much support on that journey, Angeli. Yeah, as one card on how they feel. I feel like they want to have a conversation with them. I don't know if they like, I don't know why, but it feels like there's something about that. Like it feels like someone, like, I don't know why, like it feels like somebody who like wants to talk to them about something, particularly as it relates to like a shared history. is what I keep on getting. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, the otter energy. I don't know why, but it feels like somebody that has some kind of connection to where they came from in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Alexandra, 1 card, highest priority, please. Yeah, I feel like this is a lot of, I feel like there's something about you being able to identify and recognize, like trusting your intuition on something. Yeah, your picker's just fine. Is what keep on. Your picker's just fine. Animal spirit guide. Yeah, like especially with this blank energy, I keep on getting it's not polite. It's not polite to push, is what I keep on hearing. Right? Like sometimes I keep on getting like sometimes bullying energy is the space by which another person is not taking, like somebody not taking, are like not like in one ear out the other, like someone who continues to be like overly nice in the space by which we've identified like our own comfortability is what I keep on seeing, right? Like politeness is respecting each other's wishes. It's not feeling the over enthusiasm in relationality to perpetually like asking something repeatedly. Bridget, 1 card, highest priority, please. Hold on a moment. Yes. I feel like you're, don't overthink something. Why are you always overthinking things? Bottom of the deck, right? Like, I like to point out like the space by which we always, whenever we're doing something, we always have notes in relationality to something that we could do to fix something. But like the space by which like don't get too, I keep wondering, don't get too in your head. Like don't get too in your head in relationality to how others felt something, right? I keep on hearing like only you, like often like only you can see something that you wish to perfect, right? I just keep wondering only you can see something you wish to perfect, which is don't get too deep in your headspace in relationality to how you feel about it. Hi there, how are you doing, Ava? 1 card on counterpart. I feel like I see somebody feeling energetically disconnected, but I feel like it's not, I feel like it's like they feel connected because they feel like they miss somebody that they haven't met yet, you know? Like I keep on seeing someone say like, how can I miss someone I hardly know? Is what I keep on getting. Like somebody working through some kind of misconnection. Yeah, especially the fire dragon. Like they're working, it's like I feel like they're working through something in a way, like it's like a lot of this eclipse energy is something small that feels like it's energetically overwhelming. So I actually feel like there's something about that by which like I feel like they're trying to effectively, like I feel like they're trying to clear it because they understand that that's the nature of a connection, is the fact that they feel so passionately for someone that they don't feel like, I feel like they feel very passionately for someone that they haven't had the opportunity to grow to know yet, if that makes sense. Avatar, angelic guidance, please. When you see somebody who likes to see you angry, you walk away and keep walking, right? Like I keep on hearing there's animal spirit guide. Yeah, right. The modality by which, right, the modality by which someone misses an old version of you is the space by which right? I keep on hearing the unhealthy connection by which another person sees anger as endearment is what I keep on getting. There's nothing more detrimental than someone who sees anger as endearment, because it's not the healthy space in terms of building towards a healthy connection. When we care about each other, we care about each other in the space by which we try not to upset each other, right? We don't try to bring that emotionality out of each other, is what I keep on hearing. One card related to counterpart for when we care about each other, our concerns, like your concerns, become their concerns, right? The modality by which I keep on seeing you saying it's nothing, to them it's everything. Bottom of the deck, yeah, King of Cups energy, right? The modality by which we work to heal is the space by which we amplify and articulate how we're feeling. Animal spirit guide, yeah, especially with the blackbird, right? It's good to talk things through, right? It's good to talk it out, right? Not feeling like we're harboring something, but making sure that we're speaking upon our own energetic frustrations as it relates to something that we're working to heal, to help us understand something the way we always feel, right? Versus something that feels like new, right? Like a new feeling versus the way we always feel. And talking helps us be able to recognize the familiar feeling with the new feeling. Simp, one card in terms of what's going on with that individual. I see somebody, like, I feel like I see somebody trying to understand, like, I almost see somebody trying to understand or get to the bottom of what another person is saying, is what I keep on seeing. Like, I keep on hearing, like, why is that a cause? Like, I see somebody saying, like, why are you, like, I see somebody trying to figure out if what another person is saying is based upon something that is affecting them, or something that they themselves, like, I see them, like, working through their own hard feelings about something. Yeah, like, I almost, like, I don't know why, like, I'm reading into this and I keep on hearing the word unrequited, right? Animal spirit guide. Yeah, especially with the otter energy. I keep on seeing somebody trying to get to the bottom of something in relationality to, like, I keep on hearing, like, are like, are you upset because they did something or they didn't do something, is what I keep on hearing. Like, it's that type of energy. Julia, one card on, hold on a minute. One minute. You're so welcome. Sending you support, dear. Nothing is silly. Don't apologize. Nothing's silly. Don't worry about that. Yeah, as one card on, oh, I already pulled that for that. Hold on a minute. Yeah, Julia, one card. Oh, I got you. Let's see. It feels positive, right? This is a good card here. Potentially, especially with this Queen of Pentacles. I don't know. I feel like it's something about you, something about your uniqueness, or something about you articulating upon something that feels very close to your heart. I don't know if there was a conversation that you had there. Yeah, I keep on hearing professional. It almost feels like something that occurred by which another person feels like you have a very professional perspective on something, or you have the ability of conducting yourself professionally, is what I keep on getting. Oh, that's so fascinating. It's my, yeah. Hold on a minute. Guys, please remember, anybody who asks you to private message them is not legitimate reader. Please make sure you're staying safe out there. Did you come in tomorrow? Ella, I can't with you. I can't. You're too funny. That's really funny. One card on connection, please, for Chrissy. I feel like I see somebody that's working into, like, it's saying to me, it's like it's somebody working into the space of thinking about something you said that you were right about. You know, bottom of the deck. Yeah, like the hard part is like the like somebody going through, like, you were right, I wasn't ready to hear it. You know, like somebody going through that type of thing, like they're looking, they're like rehashing a conversation they had with you with clear eyes. Animal spirit guide, yeah, hair, right? Like it's I don't know why I keep on hearing I was defending the wrong person. You know, you're welcome, dear. Create a one card on their feelings towards you. I feel like I see somebody who thinks you can do it all. Oh, there's another one here. Oh, look. It makes them feel energetically insecure. You know? Um, bottom of the deck. Yeah, especially with that strength card and its reversal. I feel like I feel like it's something about like bringing out some kind of insecurity in them. Like in relationality to how busy you are. You know, like I don't know why, but I feel like they're like me. Like, animal spirit guide, yeah, the blank. You know, like I feel like it's almost like I feel like it's somebody who's like trying to figure out something to like to talk to you about, you know? Like I feel like they like I almost like I don't know why. I'm not sure where you left it with them, but you're welcome, Avatar. You're welcome. Yep, you're welcome. It's my Esteban. I got you, dear. Highest priority. Just be patient. I know you're frustrated right now. If it's a good idea now, it'll be a good idea in 5 minutes. It'll be like this is where eclipse rules in effect, right? What are eclipse rules? If it's a good idea, if it's a good egg, you can sit on it. But that means like it doesn't mean you can't activate on it, but just make sure that you're not doing anything like recognize the difference between spur of the moment versus feeling confident. Like if it's something that you've been having your heart set on doing, then let this effectively motivate you to do it. But if it's a new idea, just give it a minute, is what I keep on hearing. Animal spirit guide, yeah, especially with the cow, right? Right. It's saying to me like it's working, it's like not working into the space of being reactive, but just being energetically patient as you're continuing to like as you're continuing to work towards your goals right now. Ella, one card highest, please. When we're working on healing, when we're working on we work so that we don't have to repeatedly apologize for the same things, which is the identification of being able to say to another, right? I figured out a solution to the problem, right? It's having a practical conversation in terms of, I keep wondering, instead of apology, having a conversation with someone, instead of constant apology, having a conversation on what feels like a practical solution. Bottom of the deck, yeah, right? You saying to someone like, an apology is nice, a solution is better, is what I keep on hearing. Animal spirit guide, yeah, the air dragon, right? Being able to make each other aware of something that we're experiencing that allows us to do things in better ways. Yes. Thank you, Esteban. You're welcome, dear. SV, these are one card readings for superfans. So if you'd like to become a superfan, I'm happy to draw a card for you. You're so welcome, Ava. Excellent. I got you. You got 2 cards coming out, Nikki, because you are second highest. Clarity is protection, right? Clarity is protection. Like when we're clear, it gives another person the ability to meet our clarity. If another person projects on our clarity, right, that is redirection. Bottom of the deck, yeah, especially the magician, right? We don't misread into what we say, right? The modality by which we say to another person, don't put meaning, like don't put misaligned meaning on actions. Don't read into something that I haven't stated. Like you having to heal, like somebody healing from someone by which they had to read into everything. You saying like you saying to someone there's no subtext, right? Healthy energy does not have subtext because it's the observation of saying to another like subtext is trauma is what I keep on hearing. Animal spirit guide, yeah, the hair energy, right? You saying to another person, I wouldn't do that. You don't, I keep on hearing you say to someone, I don't need subtext to tell you something I would tell you clearly, you know? Absolutely. Ivana and Angelic, please. Sometimes, completely opposite to that, sometimes you got to put your foot down. Sometimes you just got to say, sometimes you just got to get it out, right? The space by which you say, I got to tell you, like the shape of this is what I'm effectively seeing, right? The observation of you effectively navigating or recognizing, like working through, like I keep on hearing, your pattern recognition skills are fine. Is what I keep on, right? And the ability, I keep on hearing like the ability to recognize another's tendencies is the space by which we can say like, is the space by which you say like heal it or go, right? Like it's saying to me like I see you kind of like working through something in a way by which like I feel like you're helping, like you're like it's working through the space by which you yourself are identifying like what you do, like what you will and will not tolerate is what I keep on saying. Animal spirit guide, yeah, especially with the bear. Spirit sees everything, right? You're not alone is what I keep on getting. And I'm just going to put it this way, like the state by which I see like not allowing, like once you recognize that another person is trying to intentionally upset you, that's all you need to know is what I keep on getting, right? Like take that, I keep hearing take that information, like take that information profoundly and allow it to effectively build into, like allow it to effectively help you effectively grow from. I feel like it's you having to heal from some trauma from the past in relationality to another that like in relationality to another that was not, like in relationality to another that was not um, that was causing the space of making you effectively doubt yourself, right? Like I keep on seeing healthy energy. Healthy energy is supportive to our own sense of stabilization. They don't make us, they don't create the space by which we're perpetually questioning ourselves. Thank you, dear. That car is on top of the deck sitting out here. Yeah. And we got to 100K. Thank you as well, Mike. Excellent. All right, we're going to get started right now. So we got to 100K. So before we finish for today, I am going to gift away another reading to the collective. I am thinking of a number between 1 and 38. First person I see that posts a number will get the reading. First person I see, not the first person that posts it. Sometimes, congratulations, Bridget, you got it. We'll do it again. Thank you guys so much. My friends, we've reached the conclusion of our reads for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. We'll be back on tomorrow at our usual time, 7:15 a.m. PST, 10:15 a.m. Eastern. If you'd like to be notified as to when I've gone live, you can head over to my profile and activate the bell there and turn on notifications. You can also register directly for the event tomorrow. If you became a super fan today, please message me directly with a disco gift, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation to our subscriber-only disco channel. You can introduce yourself to the collective there and find a special coupon code to our tarot class subscription program. Our next class is going to be held this Wednesday at 7:15 a.m. PST, 9:15 a.m. Eastern. You still got time to sign up. If you're not a super fan and would still like a coupon code to our class, just message me the word class. And I want to thank you guys so much. And just a reminder, if you get on the list today, you'll be first to be read for tomorrow, and you'll also be read for before the Daily Collective. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here and receiving these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. And the biggest thank you to my mods. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful evening. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of one another. And we'll do this again tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.